Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Races Driving League for Season 19, Round 20 of the Championship for the Brazilian Grand Prix here at Interlagos, the fifth 100% race in the season. I'm your host, Zach RC, joining you here from a very cloudy, overcast Brazilian circuit. And here to join me for the first time on comms is my good friend Ben W, who returns from being a driver on the grid, and now I've brought another one over to the comments box. Ben, welcome in. How are you doing tonight?
Not bad. Looking forward to tonight's 100% race, and I think we may be in for some interesting wheel-to-wheel action.
Should be very enjoyable. Did you get to participate in these? I'm guessing you did do a 100% race before, didn't you? To memory?
Yes, I think I did Monza maybe in this season or last season.
Obviously, been a lot while in that sense, but obviously, I mean, it's a challenge. These slightly more endurance style races compared to what we're used to. Of course, the championship in terms of the drivers' title already wrapped up. Grumio won his 10th title last week. Constructors, though, still raging on. First to third, 58 points separate Haas, Williams, and McLaren, which should be, to mind, an interesting scrap towards the end of the season.
Well, yeah, I can see it going down right to the top in Silverstone.
Should be enjoyable. Obviously, Silverstone hosting the final race of the season as a reverse circuit. And we're looking forward to seeing what these guys can do tonight. Obviously, short qualifying, making up for the full-length Grand Prix. Of course, 71 laps around Interlagos as Imri starts off on his first lap. We'll keep an eye out in terms of drivers coming through on their first runs. Imri charges towards that first corner. Of course, still looking for that first race win in a fair few seasons. We'll see if tonight is the night for him once again. I've got my eye now, Ben, on Curtis. Would you be so kind as your first mission in the comms box to take us on a lap of Interlagos?
As we head up the hill towards the start, finish straight, and blasting all the way. DRS wide open for the Ferrari. Into turn one, takes a very wide line. Into turn one he goes. Does he nail the braking? Yes, he does. Meets apex really goodly into turn two. Brilliant traction out there for the Ferrari and powering down towards the second DRS straight into the Desira de Lago. As you may pick up a slight toe, but I looked at that may have been an Aston Martin. Through turn 5, and then up towards her, up the hill. Yeah, it's the Aston Martin that keeps well out of the way. Perfect through there, good traction for the Ferrari once again. And slight bit deep for the Ferrari of Curtis there, but gets on the power nicely and easily. A bit of a snap, but that'll do. Third gear. And then back downhill towards just south. Of course, this is where Lewis Hamilton will go up for the Chicago World Championship. That's a bit of a snap into the entry of Dunsau and then up towards blasting towards the start-finish straight once again. What will it be across the line, I wonder? It will be a 108.6. Not a bad lap from Curtis.
Not a bad lap at all, and not a bad run and taking us around it, Ben. Thank you very much for doing that. I'd say you definitely rival Pope in terms of his first attempt at a qualifying lap on the streams. Imri, though, fastest, so 1 minute 7.4 on the board for the Red Bull driver, so about 1.2 up on the Ferrari. Yellow flag leaving turn 3. One of the Alpines going slow on corner exit. PJ Khaled now through to the line. 1 minute 8.5, a lot closer to Curtis on the board. Obviously, Aston Martin, one of the few teams that sort of haven't really got much of a fight to battle for in the Constructors' Championship. Of course, it's quite close down the order. There's quite a few different fights going on, but Aston Martin kind of in no man's land in comparison to everyone else.
Constructors in particular is very tight. Like, that's going to go all the way down to the wire as we start to see Grumio on his first line lap through the centre S's. Kept it really nice and quick through there. And down towards the Desira de Lago again.
Good start to the lap from Grumio, then passing the RB there, heading out down towards turn 4. Of course, title in the bag, 14 wins on the season as he has his time deleted at turn 4 for track limits there. But even so, you can't really argue against the success of Grumio this season, can you?
Absolutely not. It absolutely whitewashed the opposition. Absolutely crushed it this season.
Do you know what? Whitewash. That is a word that I do like you using there, Ben. Fantastic. AT into third place now for McLaren. Of course, McLaren's still very much alive in that fight for the Constructors' Championship because they're 58 points back. So they're still the wild cards, the dark horses in this case, AT and Landlord. But I reckon, truthfully, and feel free to debate me on this, AT, but I reckon... Ben, sorry, I'm getting myself confused already. But honestly, I feel like McLaren, if they can get a race win or both cars on the podium, then this championship is still very much alive for those guys.
Oh, 100%. I think say if Brunio were to have a bit of a support towards the final end of the season, I think the constructors is definitely going down to the wire. And it looks like the debutant, the Ferrari, is just at 17.2 first sector.
17.2 for I'm the Pog, making his debut tonight as a reserve for Ferrari in place of EJ. Just Curtis can score points for the Scuderia this week. Of course, Ferrari still only 6 points clear of RB and P9, so still sort of looking nervously over their shoulders as to what's going on with the white machines, currently running in P17 and I believe sorry, just the one, sorry, because Alvar is the lone RB on the grid as Pope goes second fastest there, and a few drivers knocked out to bridge that gap to Imri in P1. Pope is only about 700ths behind. Che about a 10th off of pole right now, so it's starting to get a bit closer up at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the Pog just picked up a lovely slipstream behind the Kick Sauber. It pots himself fourth fastest.
Fantastic stuff, man. The Pog there, as you say. I mean, he's half second as Grumio finally gets to his gates and gets himself in gear here. 1 minute 7.298. So move on the Pog down to 5th place in the order, which is still a fantastic start. And it's been a little while since we had a reserve come through and really start to show those guys up front what for. So it could be exciting to see how he performs in tonight's race as Landlord now goes P5 to relegate the Ferrari down another spot. But I imagine Curtis likely won't want to be outshined by his reserve teammate.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tight one between the two Ferraris, I think. But I don't think Curtis will like that first initial lap. He's definitely got at least, I say, half a second in him. He's very competitive around here, raced against him as well. And judging by the cloudy conditions, it looks like it's starting to get a bit dark.
Whether we're going to see any rain over the course of the evening, we'll have to wait and see on that front course. It's a long race, so there's every chance we could see a bit of it appear over the course of the Grand Prix. HB Cook, they're going 8th fastest, just in behind his teammate Ericsson, about 22 thousandths separating those two in the running order. Of course, no eliminations on no elimination at stake tonight. It's just simple laps and get yourself out, set the fastest time, put yourself as high up the grid as you can. 15 of our 19 drivers are set times. Only 2 of those guys are currently out on the circuit. Websy and Dan, the 2 remaining drivers on circuit. TJ and Courtney Goblin, both yet set lap times. We've seen Courtney obviously go out quite late in the past in these shorter sessions. TJ, I'm not sure if he's been out there as of yet. Sorry, TJ, the other reserve in tonight's grid. He's currently taking the place of Ethan to mine. So Aston, again, looking at just the one driver scoring points. Currently 32 points off of 7th place Sauber in the Constructors. Those guys fight with Alpine for 6th place.
Very close between everybody, apart from, I'd probably say, Aston Martin. They're the only ones that are like in the middle of no man's land. But other than that, is Wednesday is just at 75 first sector.
Solid first sector. We'll keep an eye on. Sorry, I'm losing my marbles here. Websy, sorry, first sector. Yep, 17.5 for Websy in the first sector. He makes his way going through turn 9 and up towards turn 10. That tight right-hander, of course, heading down towards the sweeping turn 11. Easy to lose the rear end of the car if you're not running the right setup on that front. But Websy seems to have things under control as always. 52.1 in his second sector, charging out of turn 12 and through 13 up towards the line here to complete that first effort. And whether we'll see him put a second one in later, we'll have to wait and see on that from Websy up towards the line to complete his lap. 1 minute 8.171. That puts him into the 7th spot. So Alpine now have some representation inside the top 10.
Yeah, I think that is around 52.1. I think Websy's got a bit more pace in him. I can easily get himself into the 107s, definitely. He's they were a bit cautious on that lap size. Imri just hit provisional pole that time by just over a 10.
Imri quickest now, and once again, it's been a bit of a scrap here between Imri and Grumio for those pole positions, as it's been continuing on. This battle has raged on all season in that sense, but I mean, Grumio has been on top on that front by a couple of pole positions to memory. As it stands, 8 pole positions for Grumio and 6 for Imri, so I'm sure Imri would like to put a stop to that tally going any higher and make it perhaps 8-7 on that front. Pope in 3rd place, Che currently in 4th, and Dan rounds at your top 5. Of course, Dan will be hunting, or rather being hunted, in particular by Landor going into these last 5 rounds of the season. We are near, of course, the end of the campaign as Mr. TJ does get across the line 1 minute 7.971. It's actually just in front of Websy. So TJ found the 1 minute 7s. Websy has not.
So just watching for JB for the Center S's. Didn't look that stable with that Williams. Wonder if he's running quite a low downforce setup so he can blast his way down towards turn 1 and into turn 4.
We'll see what JB's got them. P16 in the order right now. 1 minute 8.605, his previous best effort. And we'll see at the end of the second sector where he's made any actual improvements on that front, on that fresh set of soft tyres. Just under 7 minutes to go, so plenty of time for drivers to come back out and have another crack at going higher up the timing screen. Yellow flag in front of them. I believe that's one of the Ferraris backing off. I'd imagine one of them heading towards the pit lane as JB comes towards turn 12 now. Up by 2/10, so finding a bit more time. That'll put him up to maybe 3 places if he can get a bit more in this last sector. We'll see. He's got plenty of battery left to spare, so use all of that and overtake, charging up towards the line to complete his effort. And across the line now, 1 minute 8.230 finds P10s, actually 8 thousandths in front of AT's McLaren, who's down the order here by comparison to his usual standards.
It's Che across the line, sorry. It was a pretty good lap from Che. He lost a bit of time in the middle sector, but looks like I think cut the Ferrari again out of the way. Right, slap bang in the middle of the track, but he didn't lose too much time as he puts himself P3.
2/10 improvement. That puts him in over Pope into 3rd place. Pope still in 4th. Dan exactly a 10th back from Pope in 5th place. So that order remains unchanged behind. I'm the Pog stills P7 and only down by 200ths in the first sector. So improvements could be on the table potentially for the Ferrari driver. And it'll be interesting to see how he performs over a full race distance. It certainly must be a daunting task coming into your first race in the league and it being a full race against a lot more of the established drivers. So it'll be interesting to see how the reserves get on as always.
I wonder if this is I'm the Pog's better chances. I wonder if that's where I'm the Pog really shines. Like he's shining pretty well now. He's 107.918. He's looking pretty good. I'd say P7 is very respectable as he's found yet more time through the second sector.
Up by 0.135 out of Sector 2. Indeed, Ben. So charging towards the line through turns 14 and now 15. I'm the Pog towards the line. Can he improve on that time any further? He can improve, but not enough to gain any places. But he's now 9 thousandths behind 3-time champion Landlord. So that's definitely not anything to complain about in your first RDL outing. And it'll be interesting to see if he can keep up that pace in the Grand Prix. We'll see what he's got up his sleeve.
I think most drivers start to pit now, other than Alvar, who looks like he's on a fine lap.
12 thousandths up into the first sector for Alvar in the RB. Of course, the lone chance for that team at scoring some points and getting themselves up off of the bottom of the table, I believe, for the first time all season. It's been a real struggle for RB in general. Of course, switched out their lineup several times over the course of the campaign. They seem to have found a very solid lineup in Bennett, Lim, and Alvar, of course, behind the wheel in today's race. He goes down in his second sector and wide there out of turn 12. Very lucky to avoid catching the grass on corner exit, but he will make it back towards the pit lane to complete this effort. Head back towards the line to try and find some time. Nope, in he comes. So I was right in the first place. So Alvar comes in. Likely we'll see one more run out of him. So that just leaves Pope and Pog out on the circuit. We'll keep an eye on Pope now.
Very good on the brakes, Pope. You'll notice this all the time. He is fantastic on those brakes, getting the car slowed down, rotating nicely and easily, and down in towards basically the logo again. And I think this is where we're going to start to see most of the drivers come out.
Big improvements. Pope end of the first sector, up by 1/10.5. Just one of the McLarens. It's AT in front. Of course, AT going to be looking to improve on his next effort. Currently 5 places down on his teammate. Of course, AT That run last week in Mexico, the disconnection last week led to his retirement from that race. But before that, it was second place in Singapore and fourth place in Texas. So clearly a good run of form, which could have been derailed last week, but we'll see how he recovers this week as Pope enters the last sector now.
Also going to pick up the bit of the slip behind the McLaren. Well, a bit more, but it's definitely going to pick up one behind Landlord as he is trying to enough turn. Is he out of window to fit? No, he's not. Up towards the line now. What did Pope say? It goes P4 with 107.3.
And still quite close to Che there in third place. Just needs that little bit more, that little extra spark. But I wonder perhaps if he has gone out early to avoid being caught in traffic. We've seen this from Pope in recent weeks, especially in Q3, when we reach that all-important part of the session where the clutch last laps are in order. Pope sort of goes a minute or two prior to everyone else. You can see that the track is now quite busy with drivers heading out for those final runs. As you see, a lot of cars now here on the outlap on your left screen on the leaderboard at the minute, including both Grumio and Che. And now Imrie joining them out on circuit. Grumio coming through to start what could potentially be his final lap of this session, and we'll see what he's got to try and improve. He needs, at the minute, he needs just over a tenth to nab pole from Imrie. But of course, Imrie is on a lap of his own, or he will be on a lap of his own, so we'll see what the game plan is for these guys. Ben, if you had to give me a choice now as to who's going to take pole, who's going to be?
Oh, it's always very tight pole position. I think I'm probably going to leave Imrie on pole position for now. It's ATI just finds that slight bit of time. Not by much, but it's enough for P8.
So slight improvements then, and definitely up a few places for ATs now within that 1 second gap as Pope retires in the session. So as I say, calling it quits a bit earlier. We're trying to avoid that traffic as Grumio makes his way through. He's got a bit of traffic in front of him in the McLaren of... Sorry about that. Of Landlord, who makes his way through. Of course, Landlord's on his own lap. So,
the contact.
And that could have been a bit more avoidable because both cars are on laps, but Grumio seems a bit fast here. And Grumio down 4 seconds, so likely charging up, as you say, Ben, backing off and going for that one last run as Che disconnects. So won't get another lap in, I should think, in the last part of this session as Imrie is up slightly in his first sector, up by 300ths.
Oh! PJ's gone for a spin. I think that's center essence yesterday. He must have just caught the grass on the outside of the track, and he's gone for a bit of a wild one there.
PJ recovers it, but whether he'll have enough time to go for another run, I shouldn't think he will. It could be at best P15 for PJ in qualifying. Every car minus Pope and Che out on the racetrack here. Imrie, a quarter of a second up now. Big improvements being found, and Grumio has invalidated his lap. Grumio lap time deleted. I think it may have been again at turn 4 as he takes out one of the Aramco bollards and a second one there on the circuit. Imrie up towards the line. I think he should be uncontested now for pole. 1 minute 6.959 for Imrie. Scintillating lap as Grumio takes a run here through the grass. I mean, he's champion. He's something to race for now, except for just more points to add to what would likely be his own record on that front. Dan is coming towards the line now, barreling through, and will improve, or not, sorry, won't improve, stays in P5 then, end of the session. But Grumio that to likely pack it in now, unfortunately. So tough for him. TJ into P6, where it's under Pog. Pog has backed off. Landlord towards the line. Landlord goes P5, and it's looking like Imrie is a lock for pole. He's retired from the session down at turn number 5, but that should do it then. And you're right, Ben. Good first prediction. Imrie on pole.
I'll put the banger. Get a picture of that. The McLaren now of ATI across the line yet again. It's an okay lap. He didn't manage to find the time, but ATI's definitely got pace in them. McLaren, he's got a bit more pace in that.
We'll see if he can pick it up a bit more during the Grand Prix. Grumio does finally call it quits now. Hasteby Cook into the pit lane. He's in P14 for this race. And Courtney Goblin towards the line. It stays in P19, 2.5 seconds off of pole. And there you have it then. So once the last few cars enter their pit boxes, that will cap us off for qualifying. I'll have a quick rundown then of the positions on the board here. So Imrie on pole, Grumio takes home second place. Those guys will lead the charge to the first corner. Che in third, Pope fourth, Landlord in fifth, Dan sixth, TJ, I'm the Pog, Websy and AT, your top 10. In behind them, Ericsson, DJ, JB, Hasteby Cook, 10th Cannon, PJ, Curtis, Alvar, and Cottony is your complete order for this Brazilian Grand Prix. So that'll do it. Sorry, go on.
The Haas are doing really well. They look really strong around here. They could bring themselves back into Constructors' Championship threat. If indeed they're not already leading it. I don't think they are. I think it is.
So that will do us then for qualifying. Of course, we're back here in a few minutes' time for the Grand Prix. There is a reminder, Imri on pole by 3/10 and looking very ominous going into this 71 lap shootout. We should be back with you in a few minutes' time to get the Brazilian Grand Prix underway. Don't go anywhere because this could be an absolute RDL classic. We'll see you shortly. Welcome back then to Interlagos, and the heavens have well and truly opened going into this Brazilian Grand Prix. Round number 20 of the Races Driving League Season 19. I'm your host, Zach RC. Bring with me Ben W in the commentary box. Should be a very exciting evening of racing here. 71 laps coming your way. Here is a look at the circuit going into today. Ben, it's a nice flowy circuit, truthfully. There's obviously a more technical second sector, that sprint up towards the finish line in Sector 3. It should be a good race, and the rain obviously making it that bit more exciting too.
People probably had to alter their setup. Some of these drivers, particularly looking around the field, I reckon some of them have probably got a bit bolder on the wings. More than likely, they've done some practice so in this weather.
Should be a good scrap indeed. And obviously, as you say, setup changes may need to be made. I mean, as much as Parc Ferme can, as much as they can get around that going into the Grand Prix. Obviously, it's a long race ahead, so we could be looking potentially at some struggles for certain drivers who perhaps might not adapt to wet conditions as much as everyone else. But it's looking quite light by comparison to what we've seen in Brazil in the past, where it's sort of typically monsoon season around certain points. But here we go now. About to get underway for the formation lap, and we'll take you through the starting grid from dead last up to pole position, and obviously your starting tyres as well. I'm saying that enters for everyone in tonight's race. So Courtney starts from dead last for Mercedes, of course, still hunting for his first points of the campaign. It's Alvar in P18, RB's lone point scorer in tonight's Grand Prix, so looking to try and get a few more on the board to try and chase down Ferrari. Curtis in P17, we're looking to try and stop him from doing that in tonight's race. PJ Keller lines up from P16. Aston Martin sort of in no man's land. Again, he's the only scorer for that team for tonight's race as TJ is a reserve. 10th Cannon lines up in P15. 2-point scores in the last 3 races. Looking to try and get back into the points after that no score in Mexico. HB Cook in P12, of course, still coming back from that podium in Singapore a few weeks ago. 3-point scores his last 3 races and currently sitting best of the rest in 8th place in the Drivers' Championship. JB lines up in P13, still trying to help Williams in their constructors fight. 15 points separates them from Haas going into this event. DJ lines up in P12, continuing his successful run. Again, like a number of drivers here, 2-point scores last 3 rounds, but that a no score in Mexico. Ericsson, 9 points on the board for him, but obviously it's been a little while since those points. Whether he gets it back in the order, we'll have to wait and see. AT lines up in P10, starting a bit on the way to the grid, and looking to try and close on Che for P5 in the standings. Webbsy in P9, obviously still coming back from those few weeks off of P6 last time out in Mexico. I'm the Pog makes Zardiel debut as a reserve tonight in for EJ, and we'll see what he's got if he can try and challenge the main contenders. TJ in P7, looking at hopefully another solid finish as a reserve. Dan in P6, Landlord P5, currently chasing down for that second spot. Pope in P4, looking for that second win of the season. Che in P3, Grumio, your champion, in P2, and Imri still hunting that first win in several seasons going into this event. Lines up in P1, his 7th pole of the season. Cockney Goblin now taking the last spots on the grid. The rain continuing to fall here at Interlagos as the Mercedes car takes home the last spot on the starting grid and about to get underway now. Seconds away from the action, getting to go. As here come the lights here in Brazil for the 20th race of the season. Here at Interlagos, under the rain, full-length Grand Prix. It's lights up to the floor, and we are racing. Solid start from both the front row starters. Imri trying to cover off Grumio. He does cover off Grumio towards Timon, but over to the inside once again for that first corner through the center as they come. A bit of contact in the back, but everyone keeps it nice and clean. 10th cannon down several spots on the start. Imri leads the way, clean start. Grumio in second, Che third, Pope in fourth. As Landlord in fifth, might try and challenge Pope down there at Choposto on the run down towards turn 4. Down in behind these guys in P6. Everyone keeping it nice and orderly here. And I'm the Pog making a move there. Or contact potentially between him and Mr. TJ. Both cars, both reserves getting away nice and easy here. Close to contact but keeping it clean. Oh, car going wide in the back there. Curtis. But aside from that, everyone keeps it nice and clean, Ben.
Contact between the Ferrari of Curtis and PJ. PJ may have ended up sustaining a bit of damage on that, but likely not. He went for a bit of a half spin, managed to correct it, but very clean start, wasn't it?
So Imri leads the way there. I thought I saw Grumio challenging him for a split second going in through turns 6 and 7, but Imri seems sliding there through 11. Of course, these guys have to get to grips from running higher pace in quali to all of a sudden to play a bit more conservative by comparison as they make their way through turn 12. These guys have majority have on likely more dry setups. So to hope that the rain does indeed catch up, but it should make some very exciting races. TJ dropping down the order here as they make our way up towards the end of the first lap. Imri leads away, TJ out the points completely here. So a number of drivers moving up. I'm the Pog there in P7, of course. Whether there was contact between those two on the first lap, not entirely sure. We see JB might try and challenge Aston Martin into turn 1 as he goes side by side with Ericsson through the center S's. Both cars keeping it clean here. It looks as though TJ may win out, but Ericsson around the outside makes that move stick, move the Sauber up into P11 as TJ continues to drop back.
I would say if he could into the run, maybe into turn 4, he has a look. But I think JB just makes a mistake and Keith Sauber says thank you very much as he opens up 13th.
Nice and easy then for HP Cook as Curtis now trying to challenge JB, who slides a bit there going into turn 6. Let's keep an eye on these guys. This will make for very entertaining, at least entertainment to watch out on track as 10th Cannon goes for a move on Alvar for what will be P17. Imri is pulling away here. Of course, he took his first win in Hungary in these sort of conditions. Pulled away in the latter stage of the Grand Prix. I hope he doesn't make any mistakes as we've got a pass further down the order here. DJ making the pass on AT as the scuffles continue on for the back.
Yeah, I just saw that AT went a bit wide, and that allowed the Alpine of Mr. Bigger CJ just walks right past him as he has a bit of a snap coming through the final corner.
Keeps it under control though, so DJ now in the 9th spot. Of course, he can score points. AT can also score points. I'm the Pog cannot. So he's the only car at the minute that can't score, but that is scoring right now. So the points then go to Ericsson in P11. Of course, 9 points for him on this season. Joining us midway through the campaign, but is now making his own way for Sauber. Of course, helping them in their fight with Alpine. 6 points separating those two teams, but DJ might make that gap 8 as it stands as Webbsy continues on down, up in P8, so that's further gain throw. My Discord overlay is sort of covering up where Webbsy is in 8th place. Let's try and keep an eye out for that over the course of the night. But Imri now 1.2 in front. He is hauling up front there, Ben.
Yeah, Imri's doing a fantastic job. Whether he's burning out his tyres, I'm not quite saying. He doesn't look to be having too many snaps or oversteers, though. Fingers crossed he's not burning through too many of them tyres too quickly. And hopefully he can... Well, he's still building the gap to Grumio, and with Grumio being the 10-time world champion that he is, bit worrying for a start for a driver of this caliber.
I mean, a long way to go, and obviously Imri is up there in terms of contending, but hasn't taken that race win since all the way back in season 16 Qatar. So that's how long we're talking, Ben. We're looking at about more or less 3 seasons at this stage since Imri last took the top step of the podium. He's been on the podium since, but never managing to emerge as the victor for whatever reason. It has been, of course, the last sort of year and a half at this stage, but he continues to fight valiantly on. And speaking of fighting on, JB making a move on HB Cook into turn 1, moved the Williams car up into P13. Sauber with 1 point to their name at the minute in Ericsson, thanks to Underpog obviously being unable to score, but he's holding his own. He's got both the 2 Alpines right behind him. It's been an interesting few laps, and we'll see in terms of how he handles the conditions out there.
The conditions are definitely easing. I think they're. I think Ray's safe a bit. As looks like the 2 Alpines are trying to mount a challenge on the Ferrari. As I say that though, it looks like Pope is all over the place. As that McLaren has rapidly gained.
Landlord closing back in, of course. No DRS at the minute thanks to the wet conditions, but it doesn't mean that drivers can still gain off the car in front, making mistakes. Dirty air still very much a factor in the equation of how to drive these cars in these conditions. But Pope, as you say, Ben, is indeed dropping back and bringing both Landlord and Dan into play. Dan still running that US Grand Prix livery, at least on my screen. I'm not sure what he's doing on yours at the minute, but as it stands, then it's still Imri leading, but Grumio trying to keep that gap constant. He's closed in as Che now sets fastest lap, so keep an eye on that 3rd place car, which is just the 1 win for Che this season back in that chaotic race at Zandvoort a couple of months ago at this stage. But Che still looking quite racy and looks to be here to play with the 2 cars up front.
Yep, it looks like AT and Amateur Leader CJ in the Alpine go for a fight yet again. It looks like they're not costing themselves too much time, but as I say that now, Wednesday is piling on the pressure on the Ferrari.
Piling on the pressure indeed, and we'll see how Underpog handles a situation here, because Websy has not the greatest memories of this circuit back in the past. Came here in season 15 with a chance, albeit an outside chance, at the championship against then champion C1 10P fan, but a crash at turn 6 around this point in the race pretty much put an end to his title hopes at a race where he needed to win and have Fan failed to score or lose the championship that way. But so Websy looking to try and put some more points on the board for Alpine, trying to remove that threat that is coming from Kick Sauber in P7. So that's very much there. But Ericsson and HB Cook both down the order compared to the Alpines, so not much for concern as Underpog has still gone wide through turn 12, and this could open up a chance for Websy going towards turn 1.
Obviously, he does not have DRS. No DRS, of course, in these conditions. But is he close for a launch into turn 1? It looks like he's going to go for it. No, I think second best of it. Rather than putting the Ferrari under more stress and under more pressure. What are those tyres going to be like? I wonder along that on that Ferrari, as he's holding up a bit of a train now. As the Kick Sauber starts to really by a little bit.
Websy trying the inside at turn 4. Can't quite find a way in there, but you saw him right on the rear wing of that Ferrari. And as you say, Ben, I do wonder what those inters will be like, how much Underpog is pushing those guys at the minute. As AT trying to challenge DJ again into turn number 6 they go, and keeping it nice and careful. DJ leaves him plenty of room, contacting the pair of them. Luckily only a slight nudge, and both cars get away with no damage from what I can see up here. DJ though hold on to that spot as Underpog lags back a little bit there, so whether there's desync on that front, I think all is okay. But Websy is now around the Alpine. He found himself in an Alpine sandwich now, as DJ will look to try and counter as well, but as long as he can try and shake AT sooner rather than later. But those guys currently 4 seconds back from Dan, sort of by himself in 6th place, about a second back from Landlord, and who's chasing Pope, as AT now going for a move himself once again, and this time gets the Alpine out of turn 12.
I think he's setting up really well. If we already see our first driver in the pit lane, and it's Dan.
Change made then for Dan, going on to what looks like a set of medium tyres. So the rain looks to be sort of drawing to a close here. Yes, it has. The rain has stopped. So this brief start to the Grand Prix in the wet will now mean the track start to dry. And Dan is the first to bite, coming in then for a set of mediums. We'll see how he handles the conditions on these dry tyres on his first lap. You can see him wobbling a little bit there, Ben, as he makes his way out of the pit lane. And it shouldn't be too long before we start seeing the guys around him start to come in and bite the bullet themselves.
Everyone's going to struggle in that pit lane with it being so damp. At least the first few drivers are definitely going to struggle with traction. I think it's the perfect timing for the Pog, because he's definitely losing some time and he's losing some ground to the Alpine.
Websy pulling away here, about 8 tenths separating those two cars. 80 about half a second behind him at the minute. We're on lap 7 of this thing. We're almost about 10% of the way through the Grand Prix here, and it's been a very exciting first 7 laps. Imrie comes through to start lap 8. Fastest lap for him once again, a definite sign the track is drying as Che comes in, but Che, 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. I think he may have caught a spin there, Ben. Did you see that by any chance?
Yeah, he caught a bit of an oversteer moment and he had absolutely no chance of slowing that ass down. It's very racing to the pit lane, I won't lie.
Che is away, and Curtis may have been caught with the same fate as well. I mean, he's kept things under control by, at least from what I can see here. I may have missed that in terms of what Curtis did, but Curtis coming in too hot as well. So 2 10-second penalties being handed out, and there's mediums and hards getting quickly equipped. Landlord going for a set of soft tyres, so pushing it a bit more on this first dry stint. Ben, do you think that could help him in the long run or hurt him?
With it being such a long race, it could do both. If there's a safety car maybe around like 20, he could definitely go on a set of hards, but who knows? Who knows what this race will bring?
It's also shaping up to be very exciting now. Top 7 still yet to pit. That includes Imrie, Grumio, Pope, and Pog. 80 them in the top 5 as well. HB Cook and Alvar both running out the points going into this first round of stops. But we'll see here when those guys do choose to pit, and if so, do they go for alternating pit laps? Imrie is coming in. Grumio stays out one more lap, so we'll see what he can do. The champion stays out those tires. Imrie hits with it as well.
Imrie.
A third 10-second penalty, and Imrie there, who was in the lead, may have cost himself as Grumio sets fastest lap, 1:18.7, and that will be an ominous sign for the rest of the field as dry tyres start to come into play. But Imrie may have cost himself this early.
What has he done? He definitely did not need that at all in the slightest. They were building a bit of a gap to Grumio, as I also saw the Mercedes of Pope having a bit of a snap on into the pit lane.
Pope, though, keeps it under control. Of course, the bright side in terms of these 10-second penalties is that while they are in fact 10 seconds as DRS gets enabled, it does of course mean that those penalties those drivers can serve during the Grand Prix. And I think it goes without saying, Ben, that we'll get at least one of the stop in this Grand Prix, despite how these tyres operate on F1 25. But we'll see in terms of when that stop will be and how much time Imrie needs to gain back, and should he need to perhaps adjust strategy in order to make up for that 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think the track's taking a bit of time for it to really rubber in. It looks like it's still a bit slippery out there. The likes of Landlord had a massive snap coming out turn 4, and picking up a bit of time in the second sector, but he's still losing the car. So it looks like the track isn't drying that quickly.
And Grumio not taking any chances as he comes into the pit lane, so I'm back off quite a way before. I mean, Imrie will likely, may emerge back in the race lead again. We'll see whereabouts Grumio emerge here as he comes in for his first stop, see what tyres he puts on. Whether he'll try and go long on a set of hards. Nope, medium tyres going onto that machine. Pog also pitting in behind him. Imrie will likely emerge into the lead once again, but has now got that 10 seconds to serve. So he's going to have to get his head down and start moving as we types in these two as they emerge from the pit lane here. Dan fastest lap, so perhaps a change in pace, change in fortunes for the Haas team, who are of course still leading the constructors by 15 points over Williams, as Imrie emerges about 2.7 make that clear of Grumio. So work to be done on Imrie's front, but plenty of time to do it.
Crucially, Grumio has a massive step oversteer. Crucially, Imrie has pulled out another 1.2 seconds, so definitely picked up a bit of time despite losing the cars. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1.
And it's Pope going slow. Pope's picked up some damage here on that front wing, on the left side of the wing. It looks like he's lost the nameplate too. You can see how much downforce he loses there by comparison to Landlord, who breezed past him on those soft tyres. Now has clean air to try and chase down Che for third. We'll see how much Landlord can gain on those softer tyres. Dan right behind now.
ADI's gone for a spin. AT's gone for a spin.
And around goes the McLaren there at turn number 8. Good spot, Ben. We'll see him recover. Likely plumb last here as he struggles to get going there. Well, that is a puncture potentially.
Oh dear.
I can't see it myself because of the T-cam as Imrie sets fastest lap. And yeah, I can see actually, I can see.
Puncture.
You can see how the car's turning. And he's only been on those tyres for a lap here. So what has happened to AT? And it looks as though a second tough week in a row isn't coming. As it looks like the back, I want to say the back right has gone. Yes, it has. There is the shredded back right tyre from AT's McLaren, and that is gutting, Ben. Obviously, I know you've been in that position before earlier on this season. Tough breakers around goes to McLaren again.
As well. The McLaren's going to really struggle here. With his culture, he's going to want to safeguard the back tackle, but can he even make it around to the pit lane? He's only just going through jumps out at the moment, and he's struggling to turn that McLaren.
And on the verge, we're going a lap down here as Imrie makes his way up through the gears towards turn 10. AT has got it moving again, but I should think of the same sort of problem when he comes around towards turn 12 here, where they're going to lose the back end again. Have to keep an eye out. Yep. Well, actually, no, he saved it for a second, but he's on the apex now on corner X, and he needs to get the way to, and these guys need to ensure they avoid him. Yellow flags are obviously in play as Chase slides a bit, as AT resets the track, and that might be an unwise call, given that against normally what the stewards would regulate in this sort of condition. We'll leave AT for a minute to try and maintain himself, try and get back to the pit lane if he can. Grumio and Imrie both setting fastest laps. Look how much that McLaren is tipping at this point as he struggles to get moving and keep himself moving towards the pits. A lap down for AT. I wouldn't be surprised to see him retire from the Grand Prix here. Tough break for McLaren, of course. Need points to get themselves into that fight in the Constructors' Championship. AT is in the pit lane, 10 seconds of speeding. I think that likely means he's done for the day, I should think. I mean, a long way to go. So, I mean, this could always be recovered, but he's a lap and a half down. So it's going to be a tough ask from here. He's carrying on, valiantly carrying on. So fresh, hard tyres going on the car now. I think it's, as a sort of safety blanket there, Ben, and that will likely do it for AT's tyre troubles, but obviously a lap and a half down now and a long way back from first place.
I think, just on a bit of a side note, but it looks like the Ferrari had to have a front wing change, so I don't know if the Ferrari crashed with a wall or a driver, but I didn't see anything on the stream, but he definitely had a front wing change, and all of a sudden, and the Pog's got a lot of work ahead of him, despite looking really good in qualifying, and of course, the first stint of the race.
Still, of course, about 59 laps to go in this race, so there is time. Imrie goes fastest again, 1:15.3 on the board. Grumio can't top that this time round, so Imrie now fastest car on circuit. His yellow flag again here as his teammate Tent Cannon, who's had an off there, and she's gone off in between turns 9 and 10. She recovers the car. No puncture on that front, at least from what I can see at the minute. Yeah, that car looks all fine, just a loss of control. So 10th goes back on her way, again down in P17. Last of the sort of trainer cars here. Pope down in P16, so Pope has to also make a pit stop as well. So we've got a number of cars who've been impacted by strange circumstances. Of course, Pope, actually saying that, had that wing change as he comes through, puts up fastest lap for himself, 1:15.348. So Pope is very much still alive in this race. It's going to take a lot of work to try and get himself back up to where he was in the points again. But that leaves things open for Haas to try and score some more points.
Mine actually looked really quick this time around. PJ's just passed HP cut, which I do imagine those tyres are going to take a bit of warming up. But it's looking good for Aston Martin at the moment. P7, P12, not too bad.
And obviously, I mean, with TJ saying that in P7, the points then go to Curtis in P11. So as it stands, Pope 3-second penalty for corner cutting. But I think that's the first one. So not the second one all evening, as PJ's had one as well. Grumio fastest lap. Now yellow flag again, and that is Pope has gone off.
Pope. Oh, Pope, what have you done? You've destroyed the front wing. I wonder if he ended up being collected by a car. He was very close to. Obviously, he got past Courtney on the previous lap, but I think he was very close to another driver. I don't know who it were, but he's lost his other end plate now, and that's a real shame to cope with that.
Both end plates out then for Pope, so we'll have to head back to the pits for a third time in this Grand Prix. Tough break for a number of these guys who find themselves in issues early on. Pope and AT, two normally very consistent, very strong drivers, both run into problems today. Of course, AT is a bit different thanks to that puncture as PJ Khaled down 2 spots. Contact there at turn 4 between him and HB Cook as Landlord now gets a penalty as well. And a number of drivers just having things going out of their way very fast as Pope retires it, calls it quits. First retiree is Pope. No safety car, obviously, as he's safe in the pit lane. But Imrie will carry on there, go past him. And Mercedes now have just Conti Goblin in the race. And obviously on a day where Imrie is currently leading the way and looking for points. Let's not forget, Ben, Red Bull and Mercedes both dead even in the Constructors' Championship in the race for P4, 193 points for both teams. So Imri knows what's at stake today, and any point to this stage would do wonders for the Red Bull team. It's a big advantage they've got now. And let's see how they play the game and see if they can try and improve themselves.
I think Grumio just took 1 second out of Imri, so I don't know if Imri had a bit of a snapper oversteer, but Grumio's just taken a good second out of him, and Grumio all of a sudden it put himself back into contention for the lead of the race, at least on track that is, obviously with Imri having spent a competitor. He does seem to be struggling at the moment.
Imri still pumping in fast times, but that mistake may have brought Grumio back into play. Landl emerging from the pit lane now, obviously had to make his own change, his own problems as he taps the outside wall there on pit exit, but emerges now in P14. So we've got a number of cars to keep an eye on here, Ben, down the order and looking to try and recover from where they are. Landl 3-second penalty, same thing for PJ, and that is in terms of penalties for 3 seconds. That's all we've got. 10 seconds for 4 drivers, which is a rarity in this case. Imri, Che, Curtis and AT have all found the wrong end, the wrong side rather, of the pit lane limiter, and as a result, I've got 10 seconds to answer for in their next stop. As Grumio, as you say, has continued to close that gap down, 1.2 the gap as for the back. DJ making the pass on JB for the 8th spot.
Absolutely. I think Grumio's starting to reel in Imri now. I don't know if Imri's feeling the pressure, but as we say that, JB's looking at Mr. DJ CJ goes right the way around the outside of the final corner. Easily makes fast, DRS move, no harm done for either car there, to be fair.
So things getting a bit lighter here for Williams as JB pushes his way up the order, of course taking advantage. A number of guys struggles down the order here. Obviously, we've seen 3 drivers make 2 stops in this race already. We've seen 1 driver make 3. Obviously, that's Pope as DJ comes back at the Williams now towards turn 4. Was he a bit too hard on the brakes late on into the corner? Keeps himself under control, but JB right behind him. He'll run on board with these two as they make their way towards turn 6. This could be a fantastic scrap into the right-hander. JB obviously holding his own for the minute, holding his line. And we'll see later on as I'm the Pog gets 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So that's now that is now another 3 seconds for him to think about later on this race, along with the work he's got to do down the order as Imri goes fast again. And Che is closing in too, but 3 seconds back from Grumio. Grumio is there and may well fight Imri for the lead here, going down towards turn 4.
That's what's for turn 4. He had a DRS down the pit straight and he's closing fairly quickly on the Red Bull. Wouldn't say it's down to necessarily DRS. I think Imri's just trying to keep hold of his tyres for now. Just worth noting though, it looks like Grumio has underfueled, so he's going to have to do some lifting coasting at some point during this race, whereas Imri has overfueled by the looks of things.
Good eye there. I mean, one thing you may notice, Ben, in terms of the ERS management, which has been I think it's been a long time thing for these 2 drivers in particular as a comparison. Grumio, I think, a lot lighter on his ERS compared to Imri. We may see how much he manages while fighting with a Williams driver for the lead. I should imagine Grumio may make a move here, going down towards turn 1. It's a purple second sector for Grumio by almost 4 tenths. Big improvement there, and plenty more battery. Obviously, a bit less fuel, so running a bit lighter on that front, as you said. But DRS in play going towards turn 1 as we get up 18 of this Grand Prix. Grumio closing the gap, makes the move to the inside, fast as that to boot by almost a full second to Imri. And Grumio at turn 1 for the first time today leads the Brazilian Grand Prix. Now that's a sight we've seen before.
We're going to expect him to stay within that DRS. As by the looks of things, I've just seen JB go really wide at Junsao, and now all of a sudden the Alpine is almost ahead, still not fully ahead. He has not got the DRS.
Oh, HP Cook into play.
Wow. Double move
What?
down the pitch. Good move from HP Cook.
Where did that come from? From the Sauber driver to move so up into the points paying places proper this time. As Landl goes fast, this one at 11.540. Can JB come back at the Sauber now? He's managed to get around the Alpine, but now has this guy to deal with on the run towards turn 4. Can't quite do it. And HP Cook about 3 seconds back from his teammate Ericsson, who sits there in P7. Had a quiet race so far. Hasn't really been involved in any sort of altercations, so keeping himself to himself. It's doing good for him right now as JB and DJ again side by side, going through turn 6 and 7, up towards 8, slight bit of contact, slight tap of the tyres between the pair of them as DJ trying the outside. Now, Grumio fastest lap. He's almost 8 tenths clear of Imri at this stage. DJ back behind the Williams driver once again, but we'll keep an eye on this fight and see how it plays out in the next few laps as HB Cook pulls away.
There's Imri now. So by the looks of things,
Oh.
Grumio went wide at turn 1 and Imri's taking the lead back. Grumio went really far wide at turn 1, compromised himself for turn 2. Imri says thank you very much. And back into first place goes Imri.
Cool as you like from Imri then, as he moves back into the lead after that one lap or two of letting Grumio have it to himself for the minute. Checho trying to close back in. He's just gone under 2 seconds, 3 seconds behind these guys, behind Grumio at least. Down back and forth. It's currently 27 points going the way of Haas, and as it stands right now, it is currently 20 points going Williams' way. But that will likely change should Imri obviously lose that gap thanks to the 10 seconds penalty. So we'll move Grumio into the lead theoretically, and those two, in that sense, scoring the same amount of points. So that'll make things a lot more interesting for these guys as we continue on into the Grand Prix, that Constructors' Championship on the line as Grumio gets back around Imri at turn 1. Those guys were going to fight, both cars locking up, going through that first corner. Imri will have DRS though, going down towards turn 4. This could get interesting, Ben. Keep an eye out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's still going to go hammer and tong with it for a good couple of laps now as further down the pecking order. We've got a 5-car trade. We've got 5 cars in the space of, what, 100, 200 metres? I was HP Cook leading the train for the time being, looking pretty comfortable ahead of JB.
Of course, JB and DJ continue to scrap as Landlord behind them makes the pass on Alvar for P13, so he's coming back in the order. But folks, as you say, these 5 cars covered more or less under a blanket as it stands right now from P8 down to P12 as they run towards turn 4. That could become 6 or maybe even 7 cars if Landlord and Alvar get their skates on and join that shootout for position number 8 overall in the running order. But HB Cook on the verge of leaving that train behind. He's almost the second at DRS range. He is the second at DRS range now. So JB will need to fend off DJ by himself once again. Likely we'll see them go back and forth, as you said, hammer and tong, Ben, for that position. Up front, though, Grumio has now pulled half a second on Imri, but that could be a close scrap again towards turn 4. And Che still keeping his distance, still 3 seconds back.
He's close in a bit. I don't think he's close too much. Imri's got a bit of a diameter, mate. So, of course, he's got the 10-second penalty. But by the looks of things, as we do have a yellow flag.
DJ. I think it was DJ.
Is that PJ?
The Alpine's slow here and weirdly placed. No puncture on that car, but looked to have had some sort of trouble. We'll call it that for DJ down at turn 12. I'm not entirely sure. There was no spin or nothing, so he's still right there behind Alvar now. Landlord is P11 as a result. Did you see anything?
No, not really. I wonder if it's very easy to run wide at John South, particularly when you're on tyres that have been cooked in a train. So I wonder if that's what happened to the Alpine and it's cost him a bit of time and maybe a place.
So we'll see if DJ can recover on that front. As I say, Landlord now currently up in the points paying places. Imri again snags the lead from Grumio going towards turn 1. We'll keep an eye on the battle on the timing screen to our left. But of course our main focus continues to be on this train here. HB Cook now 1.4 clear of JB, who's now got no Curtis company. Curtis is sort of leading this line now, which still remains about 5 cars, with DJ still sort of in range DRS wise, but wide again there going through turn 11, and we'll see what makes the same thing at turn 12. I mean, I shouldn't think that those hard tyres are falling off yet. The medium tyres, I should think, but these guys are going a lot longer than I expected on those things. If you look back at Mexico last week, the tyre wear was ridiculous by comparison, but these guys managing the rubber a bit better, it seems, as Landlord now into P10 continues to charge through the field.
Was looking really quick. Having a really good recovery drive so far, Landlord, but just looking up further up the road, the gap when I was hoping Cook actually overtook JB, I think it may have been a Ferrari, correct me if I'm wrong, was 3 seconds to Ericsson. It came down considerably. I wonder if Ericsson's starting to struggle with his tyres.
And I can't imagine him giving his teammate too much hassle in terms of the race for that 7th spot. I mean, Ericsson's still on the point as it stands right now. Same strategy as a lot of the cars in front on those medium tyres. Landlord obviously on the freshest tyres in the field by about half compared to everyone else, but his tyres are sort of double as fresh as everyone else's right now in terms of wear. But Ericsson now has his teammate right on his tail here as they come out of the last couple of corners back towards the line to begin at lap 23 of this Grand Prix. It's still Imri and Grumio up front. Che is closing that gap a bit more as our eyes continue to keep peeled on the leaders, but HB Cook making the pass now around the outside of Ericsson, and as he's doing that, Landor now passing JB too. So the drive continues for Landor. Oh, close to contact there, turn one. Of course, Landor's only got 3 seconds to deal with in terms of penalty, but he can't get those back in the pit lane. Those are going to be tacked onto his time coming into the race, whereas those 10-second cars can take that off in the pits.
See with the 10-second cars is if there is no safety car at all during this race, and those 10 seconds could well be the decider between Imri winning this race and Imri ended up finishing that third.
And there it is, 10
18
seconds.
picked up 10. That's interesting. So what? 18 picked up 10 seconds for ignoring blue flags too. I don't know who it is.
I mean, me saying that, granted, he's a lap behind in the majority of cars here, so whether he still needs to let them go in that sense, as they put him a lap behind, likely will be the thing. He's got 20 seconds now of penalties, because he was one of those cars that had 10 seconds for spinning in the pits, thanks to that puncture earlier on, a lack of control into the pit lane for him in that situation. But of course, Imri and Che are the ones to keep their eye on right now in terms of 10-second penalties, because those two are going to have some work to do later on this race when they serve the penalty and leave Grumio with another nice, comfortable 10-second lead. And that'll be interesting come to the end of the race, see if they can come back from that deficit.
Which I forgot a lot of pace around him. I think this is one of his more favourite tracks. He's definitely looking to try and push Grumio all the way. He's not leaving him untouched for now. He's definitely sticking with him, and he's giving Grumio a bit of a headache.
I mean, at this point, we're 20 rounds into the season. My honest response to that is about time as Imri goes for it towards the first corner. On to lap 25, clears Grumio, but obviously the champion, we have to come back at him towards turn 4. He'll get DRS in play now, going down at the Hedra Bosta towards that fourth corner. Here comes Grumio again, and right on the tail of the Red Bull makes his move to the left-hand side. Cool as you like, simple, easy, breezy for Grumio, up into the lead once again. And this hammer and tongue, tooth and nail battle continues on at least for another lap.
Yeah, Jay's starting to close up the gap now, but it looks like Dan's really dropping back. I don't know what's happened with Dan or if he's struggling at all, but he just lost. I think it was just a second and a half on that previous lap. Dan is struggling. I don't know if he's trying to recover EOS, but he's definitely not having the best of times there, Dan.
Just not up there challenging as much as he might like to, of course. Coming off a first place and second place finish the last 2 weeks after a no score in Singapore. That incident going down towards the first corner with Landor several weeks ago, for those of you that do remember. Of course, one thing I will say is that today is Dan's birthday, at least according to what we read in the server earlier on. So happy birthday to Dan, and we're glad that he's chosen to spend his birthday with us here tonight running this race. Down the fourth spot, I'm sure he'd like to have a podium finish on this day to sort of commemorate that. We'll see later on if he can do this. Of course, defending winner of this Grand Prix, won it last season, again under the 100% format. I believe after a post-race Grumio penalty to memory. I could be wrong on that front, and I'm sorry, Dan, if I am. But he comes up to lap 26 now, some 14.6 seconds back from his teammate Chase. As you say, Ben, perhaps struggling, perhaps not. Well, I'll have to wait and find out for a minute and see what goes on down the line.
Yeah, he's in with struggle. Imri starting to struggle, I think, with DRS again. He got really low. He has a bit of tank flapper coming through. I think that turns 7. Starting to struggle now in the dirty air of the Williams.
We'll see if he can recover it, but Grumio now pulling away to about a 1 second advantage at this stage. DJ penalty, that will be his first penalty of the evening for the Alpine driver. Imri sliding a bit, but lost the back end out of turn 12. And now out of DRS range, so Grumio can breathe slightly easier for a little bit here. He's used a bit of batteries trying to help that happen. Obviously, we'll need to lift at some point. Yellow flag. And it's time to pog around at turn 3. And things have fallen apart then for the driver who impressed us so much in qualifying with that top 10 starting spot. He'll recover things, get the car turned around. I should imagine there'll be damage on the front end of that Ferrari. And more likely, a trip to the pit lane will be in order.
Yeah, looks like his front wing's fairly intact. I don't know if he'd lost it just coming out of turn 2. His front wing's still intact. I don't know whether it may have side pod damage from that collision of the wall. It looked like it went fairly side on.
Obviously, a long way to go, so we'll see if Around the Pod can recover it. Of course, a safety car will bring him right back into the game, and we'll see what his pace is like in proper race trim around F1 as a whole. AT about a minute behind the Pod right now, and obviously those two cars both laps down at this stage, but all both been lapped by the top three cars, as Che is now right on Imri's tail. Grumio stretching his lead now to 1.8 seconds over the Red Bull driver. Of course, he's on those medium tyres as well, but Che's been on his tyres for 19 laps. We are looking like we could be getting closer and closer to some pit stops down the line as Che challenging Imri towards turn 1. Has to try the outside going into that first corner. On lap 28 now, the Grand Prix. Che makes the pass, and Imri, the pole sitter, down to the third spot now as the sun starts to emerge here over the circuit here at Interlagos.
Look down the grid. It looks like Landlord is on a mission. It's got another yellow flag and
Retiring
it's Brian.
And that'll do it then for the RDL debut of I'm the Pog, who goes down as the second retirement to this Grand Prix. But obviously, that qualifying performance, we won't overlook that. That was still a fantastic run for him, but things not quite going to plan in the Grand Prix. But hopefully, we'll see him back over the course of the last few races of this season. Of course, still Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and the finale at Silverstone to come in this campaign before we move on to season 20. Be a very exciting season next time around as well. I'm seeing the train here going on Ben in the mid-pack at the minute. Alvar leads JB and PJ on the set of hard tyres going towards 4. And we'll see the Ferrari and the Pog emerge. And it's AI heading onto the racing line. They're not ideal in terms of AI placement. Everyone luckily gets around them okay. But Alvar leading this train here with TJ in the points. Obviously can't score as a reserve, as I've obviously been mentioned to several times here. Alvar is currently scoring 1 point to try and close in on Ferrari.
By the looks of things, obviously, Alex Big Cook and Landlord do have a bit of history. Singapore, to remember that final 2 laps, I think it was maybe lap 29. They had a bit of history between these two, but I'm sure that's kept back in the mind, and I'm sure they won't want a repeat of that.
I should think so as well, as he opens the lead up a bit more now. Moving back towards the front, things looking slightly closer here. HB Cook has got Landor right in his tail. Landor's charge up to the field continues. He has looked imperious in this Grand Prix, but still at the minute, 36.5 seconds off of the lead, and still the 3-second penalty to have tacked on at the end as well. So it'll be interesting to see whether Landor can come back. There's still over 40 laps to go, 42 to be exact in this Grand Prix. So we are sort of nearing the halfway stage of this race, but we'll see whether Landor can spend the rest of that time coming back. Of course, a safety car will change the game, but I'd hate to have to sacrifice someone in this race in order to try and see that happen.
Yeah, just anything that looks to remain within DRS of Che. Doesn't go down into turn 1, however, there's a good exit out for turn 2 and 3 instead of resters. He's in position to strike the half driving maybe.
Lost a bit of time going down to out turn 3, but DRS keeps him well within range of a potential move later on in the lap, going up towards the main straight to begin what will be lap 31 of this Grand Prix, bringing us to 40 to go in this race. So Che will continue on over Imri at the minute, but still 1.7 back from Grumio, whose leaders, or at least his pace, seems to have stagnated in terms of how much faster he was than the 2 cars behind him. Down about 17 back from Imri now. Websy in a very quiet P5 here. 10 points currently going Alpine's way in this race, with DJ down the order and out to the points now. TJ in P6 again, same sort of thing, whether HP Cook can try and close that gap in the next part of the race. We have to wait and see. Landlord, as I say, right on his tail, that charge continues on, but still slightly here as he tries to close on the Sauber. Ericsson in P9 still on course with some good points at the minute. JB passing DJ. The fight continues on between these two as Ben, they find themselves fighting each other once again on the racetrack in the race for what will now be P12.
You're fighting so incredibly hard. JB stayed up really well into the Cine de Largo. I think I missed DJ CJ went a little bit wide, and JB just tried the up and under. Didn't quite work, but going down into turn 4.
So DJ hangs on to P12 for now then, and don't count out PJ Caleb from that fight just yet. PJ, former winner here at Interlagos a couple of seasons ago, so has tasted victory around the circuit himself, knows the way the top step. Things haven't quite gone his way so far this evening rather, whether he can try and recover and get himself some points to help Aston's charge in the constructors. Have to wait and see on that front. He gets DRS off of JB. He'll get it off of DJ as well. This could be a charge going towards that first corner. JB closing that gap in towards turn 1, going for a late move to the inside. He's there. DJ has to give him the space in that first corner. Bit of a lock up from the Alpine and move JB back into the top spot, so in full position to take advantage should someone in front of him have some sort of problem. But DJ come back at him here. It's really close to contact as DJ swings out to the left, falls back into line. No chance of a move just yet. Going for it again at turn 4. It's close, goes for a much deeper line and gets in front of JB. And these two continue to go hammer and tong for position number 12.
This is a fantastic battle these two. I mean, of course, JB's had, let's just say, a better season than the last. I think he's definitely found a bit of form. And Mr. DJ CJ, I'm starting to get the wonder if he's starting to cook his tyres, because he's drifting all over the place, going a bit wide here and there, but it may only be a matter of time before JB passes, and then DJ is not too far behind.
Oh, yes, we could check in briefly on AT, who's still down there, what is now in the 17th spot at the minute. 47 seconds back from 10th. Cannon, of course, starts 20 seconds to serve, so likely the race falling away from here as he goes to try and unlap himself around both cars here as JB gets in front. Of course, still a long way to go to try and get himself back onto the lead lap. I doubt he'll be able to in this Grand Prix unless he do get a safety car. But everything's been clean so far. There's been no real sort of scuffles on track that resulted in contact, which is always a good sign, I think, and obviously that's how he wants to go racing here in the RDL as Alvar and Curtis score. Oh, around goes Alvar. I may have spoke too soon. Alvar, contact, yellow flags are out. There's a bit of front wing left dashed on the circuit. Alvar now, and out of the way there. Had to move away from the cars in front, or rather in behind him now, in front of him. At this point, Alvar there was looking at fighting for a points pay in place of Curtis. Of course, had that 10-second penalty, whether there was the most judgment there, as Imri in the pit lane here. Hard tyres onto that car. He served this 10 seconds as well. He is away once again. Down behind Websy in 4th place for now. And we'll see whereabouts he emerges. But the fight now well and truly on. Can Imri take those hards to the end, do you think, Ben? What's the game plan and strategy, do you think, from here?
Yeah, I think he should be able to take it to the end on those tyres. How much of a headache has that been for Imri getting rid of that 10-second penalty? And he's only just came out in front of the Aston Martin of Mr. TJ, so that's probably good news for the Red Bull driver, but definitely could have done without that 10-second penalty a lot earlier.
Without a doubt. Obviously, he currently sits 34.8 seconds back from Grimio, of course, who will need to pit at some stage, but will try and go as long as he can on those mediums. A big lock-up into turn 1. 24 laps he's done on those medium tyres. Driver's done the longest is Dan, who sits in 3rd place now, thanks to Imri's stop. Of course, was the first driver to come into the pit lane full stop in terms of a move onto a tyre change on that front. Alvar pitting 2, obviously making that change onto a fresh set of medium tyres and repairing his front wing down to P16 now. And that'll be a target thing for AT to try and chase in the next sort of 37 laps or so of this Grand Prix. Che half second behind Grumio now, so actually has closed that gap down a fair bit. Grumio looks to have hit some kind of wall here in his pursuit of gaining any more time in this race. So we'll keep an eye out now and see exactly what comes into play on that end as Che will start to close him. But Che's hard tyres obviously have done a long way too. 26 laps on those. Can go a bit longer should he need to than Grumio can, but we'll see between those two whether Che can find an advantage over his old rival.
So Che's looked mightily fast in the last 2 laps. I don't know if it's them tyres starting to fall off the Williams, but of course, Che still has that penalty, which is going to cost him a bit. Is he flies past him?
Cool as you like there for Che, who moves into the race lead for the first time today here on lap 35 of this race. We're going to be near the halfway mark. I'm sure if this is a normal length race, he'd be jumping for joy at the minute, while trying to keep his pulse under control, as he would be leading with a lap and a half to go. But of course, his 100% races coming in every 4 rounds over the course of the last couple of seasons, which has been a solid addition to the league, if you ask me. I've definitely enjoyed these longer Grand Prix, especially having someone with me in the comms box. Ben, in this case, obviously, I'm assuming you're having good fun doing this.
Yeah, it's been great fun.
Good to hear. Imri fastest lap on a hard tyre, 1 minute 10.872. And in terms of fastest lap That is quite a way up on the best time so far. He's about 7/10 up on what was Grumio's best lap at that point. 111.568. AT has the fastest lap to this point, which is quite amusing given he's obviously down there last to running cars. Landlord getting around TJ now, so change is being made on that front. Landlord's charge continues. He's 37 seconds back from Che, who's now the race leader. Grumio is falling back here. He's about 3/4 of a second behind at the minute. Both cars staying out. Grumio still in DRS range. This fight will continue on. Most position change in this race, so have a quick look at that. Curtis up the most spots here. Currently up 8 places for Ferrari. Started in the 17th spot and now up into 9th.
Recovery from Curtis. We all know he's got it in. He's definitely got a lot of pace in that Ferrari. He's looking good for playing position.
Dan into the pit lane here, so change being made then. So the longest stint of the race so far has been down those medium tyres, 29 laps. I can't imagine it's too long before we see Grumio and Che both pit. In comes the Haas, hard tyres going on. I should think he can take, if he can take those things, if he can take mediums for 29 laps, I should think he can take hards to the end from here. So shouldn't be much of a concern on that front. Dan will re-emerge, and obviously no penalty to his name. He can continue on his charge towards trying to chase down the leaders.
Came out in miles putting that, so no impact for Dan there at all in the slightest. He's got the Aston Martin, who's on 28 lap old mediums. I wonder if we're going to start to see the Aston Martin and the rest of the medium tyres pit have gone beyond 25 laps, because these are going to start to struggle now.
So we're looking at drivers here, obviously like Grumio, TJ in this case, Curtis, PJ, those 4 guys need to keep an eye out for in terms of next stops. So imagine we'll see drivers like Che, Websy, DJ, Courtney Goblin, AT go a bit longer than that. Obviously, given the hard tyres, can go a bit further. Dan, I think obviously we're going to go to the end. We are past halfway now at this point in this Brazilian Grand Prix. And it's honestly, it's anyone's race at this point. Che obviously has 10 seconds to serve. Imri has served his, but I think we'll be on a charge here as he continues to go on. Of course, already set fastest lap. And pace is very much there for that Red Bull driver. But if Grumio can keep himself to himself, then I dare say this could be win 15 for him. But it could go the complete other way should we get a safety car, something like that.
Absolutely. The only advantage I can see for Che at this time, with him now in the 10-second penalty, of course, now in the lead.
Oh,
is that's the 2 penalties being given out to Mr. DJ and PJ Kelly.
Both of them, same thing here, speeding in the pit lane. And I'm not entirely sure what it is this afternoon in terms of these guys having problems in the pits, but hopefully they'll be recovered before the end of the Grand Prix. But 10 seconds to serve for both cars now, which might eliminate their chances of points. 10th Cannon into P12 now, currently chasing down Courtney Goblin by half a second in the race for that spot. Courtney, oh, sorry, I'm getting myself wrong. 10th is 8 seconds behind Courtney, who is there in P11 right now. So obviously he'll need to pit again. But as it stands right now, with TJ and P7 still, Courtney will be scoring a championship point for the first time all season.
There's a point in absolute shift. He's kept his nose clean, hasn't made any errors up to now. Hopefully I haven't jinxed him, but he's looking pretty good at the moment.
Emery fastest up again here. That charge continues. He's second behind Websy now, who is, of course, 27 seconds behind Grumio. So Grumio will likely emerge the lead of probably about 6-7 seconds, if I had to guess, at this point in the Grand Prix. And Che, same thing, whether Che can try and build more of a gap. We'll have to wait and see, because he obviously still on those hard tyres, which is doing okay from this Landlord. Gets around HB Cook for the 5th spot, but just trying to predict at this point whereabouts Grumio will emerge in relation to Imri in that race for position, and we might be about to find out soon. Nope, Grumio stays out at least one more lap on those tyres. 29 laps now. TJ and Curtis both on 30 laps each. Those two now the longest stints of the day on those medium tyres. Che, 31 laps on his hard, and still leading the way here.
It's going right up to the back of Wednesday. That was very quick.
Goes to the inside. There he goes. DRS in play. Out to the last corner. And Imri into 3rd place once again here. So now it's just a case of him trying to chase down Grumio and use as much of this tyre up as he can. I say actually, but I mean without going over truthfully, because obviously likely he'll want to get these tyres to the end, which I can see him doing, but it's going to be a bit of an arse key. He's been on them already since about lap 33. So we'll see what he's got in his locker in terms of time management, whether he can still win this race while trying to close that 10-second gap to Grumio.
So, I'm sure he's got a podium finish in him, but that 10-second penalty at the start of the race has really screwed him over. But Dan starts to show proper pace and he's going for it.
Should be exciting towards the end of the Grand Prix. See whereabouts these guys all emerge. Che still leading, but unable to break out of DRS at the minute. 10th Cannon is right on Grumio's tail. There's not really been able to get, has not been shaken yet by the champion as they run through turn 3. 10th actually has end plate damage. I don't actually spot this yet, Ben, but 10th has lost a bit of wing there, so is running obviously with a bit less downforce on that front thanks to the lack of end plate there. So we'll see in terms of whether pace improves for her when she makes another stop, but she's right behind Grumio, not really going away at this point. Obviously, can't go for a move, can't really unlap herself in this case, but still doing a fantastic job there in P12.
Absolutely. Fantastic drive so far from 10th Cannon. They don't look the best in qualifying, but it's definitely recovered fairly well. Of course, they've made a second stop. How long are those tyres going to last on that Red Bull?
She's been on them for 9 laps already. It'll be 10 when she crosses the line. So I wonder if there could be one more stop in play for 10th later on this race, whether she'll need a safety car to get herself a free one, sort of ensure she makes the flag on those tyres. Let's wait and see. Curtis into the pit lane now. He's currently falling down to the 10th position. Cottony Goblin also stopping. And Cottony 10 seconds for speeding in the pits too. Grumio, same thing.
Oh, right, okay. This race has definitely got a lot more interesting. I wonder if there's a bit of a glitch for the pit lane. I wonder if they're actually going in at a decent miles an hour. But the game still gives them a 10-second penalty as that is opening things up.
I'm wondering the same thing. I'm wondering perhaps if the pit entry is too far forward by comparison to what it's actually supposed to be. But this may mean that Imri will actually emerge with the race, I mean, a lot closer to Grumio. And now the tables have turned completely because Imri has made good use of his new tyres here and is now in a position where he's actually going to be about 5 seconds back from Grumio, but Grumio is going to have 10 seconds to serve. So Grumio will need to get his skates on now and look into expanding an advantage, because we've seen him do it, or I've seen him do it previously in terms of this being in this sort of spot with a penalty to think about. I've seen him gain about 3 seconds in 3 laps on a safety car restart before. It's mad stuff to watch, Ben, let me tell you. But Grumio now has a mission in front of him, and Che still needs to stop and serve his 10 seconds. So things are working out quite nicely for Imri here as we come towards lap 42 of this Grand Prix, and Che staying out. I have to wait to see if anyone does find the pits, so I can keep an eye out in terms of whether or not there is some sort of glitch afoot in this race.
There seems to be a bit of a train forming. So I'm Mr. DJ, CJ, and the Alpine, 10th Cannon, JB, and PJ all in the same train.
And again, the mid-pack sort of find themselves in quite an interesting spot here, where they're all sort of scrapping each other on different strategies. It's all becoming very interesting in terms of how it plays out. And we'll have to wait about another 20 laps or so to get a glimpse of who is actually where towards the end of this Grand Prix and where the fights are. As Dan goes through fastest lap now, and he's sort of coming to his own on those hard tyres in comparison to his last stint. So things getting quite interesting here in this, obviously, third stint for the majority of cars in this Grand Prix. Everyone's actually saying that. Everyone minus TJ, HB Cook, and Websy on their third stint. Those 3 mentioned still on their second. We'll see here when TJ pits, or should he pit this time round, whether there is any sort of problem afoot in terms of the pit lane. He stays out this time. Let's keep an eye out for those guys when they make their way around to see that if there actually is any sort of problem in that sense. It'll be very interesting to see as I'm actually looking at the wrong person there. I'm looking at the other Aston of PJ. TJ is coming through turn 9 as we speak. He's still on the tail of HB Cook in the Sauber. Grumio fastest lap, so clearly he's come to play, knows the situation at this point, and is still 5'1" clear of Imri.
So I think, obviously, Imri's gone a bit longer those hard tyres, but he's pulled out the gap by just over a second by looks of it since he came out of the box. So it's good pace from Grumio. It's what we're going to really see from him over the course of the season. He's just been so dominant. It's just a quick heads up there, Zach. It looks like 10th Cannon is missing his front right end plate.
Yes, we saw that a short while ago. 10th still struggling on without that end plate, obviously on those hard tyres. I'm not entirely sure in terms of what happened, truthfully, Ben, in terms of what gave for that damage, but we'll I have to leave that down to one of the mysteries of the ages in this Grand Prix, and we'll continue on as we are. Obviously 10th now we're now in the 10th spot. Back there might be 9th when HP Cook emerges. Sorry, scrap that. HP Cook without the pit lane now, no concern and no penalty for him. So clearly there's something. I mean, again, another mystery of the race here in terms of what's going on with these pit entries at the moment. We'll keep an eye out for that as we carry on. As Che now finally pitting. Grumio fastest lap. Che serving that 10 seconds. Grumio now back in the lead, and Imri will likely take over second place once again. There he goes. Tyres been changed now for Che. He is on medium tyres and he is away. I think those medium tyres can likely go to the end. We've got 27 laps to go in this Grand Prix, so I should think they can go one more long stint in these mediums that will take them to the end.
There's still a couple of runs left to play. It's Quantum picked up a 3-second penalty. It's first in the race, to be fair. He's done a really good job. One thing that I'm impressed by is by this Kick Sauber pace. HP Cook has pitted a second time and he's came out 9th, just behind his teammate. He's looking really good for points.
And again, Ericsson watched his teammate go breezing past him there. And we have got a few cars in the pit lane in TJ and Websy. Websy's just emerged, but TJ is there going through turn 2. This could be close when they come through turn 3. Both Saubers are actually there in front of the Aston Martin. So move HP Cook and Ericsson up a place each, and no penalty for either car at this stage. So looking good for Sauber here. Obviously, Websy's in P6 scoring 8 points, but as it stands, it's 6 and 4 for Sauber right now. So it's actually going to be a 4-point swing in their favour. It'll be just 2 points separating those two teams as they run. But saying that, DJ in with a current place in the top 10. He's in 10th place right now. He'll get 2 points extra when TJ obviously gets boosted from the points as a reserve. But he's got penalties of his own. Remember, 13 seconds. So he'll have 10 to serve, which will likely knock him out the points for the minute. It's going to be interesting to see whereabouts things all end up. And I'd say, truthfully, even once this race comes to an end, we could still be contending over results until tomorrow evening when the stewards report gets posted, either tomorrow or Wednesday night when the stewards result comes out, and we see if there are any change, any sort of penalties are removed in that sense. That's always an interesting part of the week as TJ gets around Ericsson for the 8th spot. So the Saubers not quite gone just yet, but that'll be interesting to keep an eye out for, I think, over the rest of the Grand Prix and, of course, going into tomorrow.
Yeah. Kick Sauber with some pretty good pace. Obviously, Ericsson's been on those 10.5 hard tyres. You wouldn't notice a dip in grip. I don't think his tyres have completely fallen off yet. I'd like to think not, unless there's something wrong with that Kick Sauber. But all of a sudden, this Aston Martin in front of him is looking pacey.
Speaking of pacey, Che's putting the time as well. 1 minute 10 dead on the clock, fastest lap there, and 7.6 behind Imri, who himself is about 7 seconds back from Grumio. Still needs to build that 10-second gap. He needs another 3 seconds at the minute to ensure his lead, and we'll see here. Obviously, it'll be a concern for Grumio, I should think, in terms of losing track position if he pits. Whether he can, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong here. Can he serve that penalty in the pit lane? 10 seconds for pit lane speeding under a safety car?
Yes, you can, but he'd have to serve it in the pit lane. You can serve on safety car, yeah. It's only drive-through penalties, which you can't serve on the safety car,
right.
which is a pain.
Oh, good. It's been a little while since we've seen the drive-through, anything like that. I feel like we've seen at least one this season. Sounds like a false start, but I could be wrong on that front. I have to check my notes later on. But Grumio there, now 7.5 in front. So on to lap 47 of this Grand Prix. We are nearing sort of the end of the Grand Prix. We're coming up on 20 laps to go. It's still anyone's race right now, given that Imri is within that 10-second range. But likely his tyres will hit the cliff a bit faster than Grumio's will. Yellow flag, and that is Landlord, who's kind of gone off a bit. And he's gone around. Has he got a puncture as well? I think he's okay. He's recovered it.
That was fine. Oh, switch onto the TV cam.
Oh, yeah. So,
There
yeah.
we go.
Sometimes it takes a minute when the car's gone around. That'd be a thing. Get used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Landlord coming into the pit lane now. Hasn't got any damage. Oh!
Oh!
Landlord going off there. Safety car's out. Safety car's out. Landlord stricken McLaren on the main straight there. Safety car without doubt, Ben. What on earth happened to Landlord there? He was coming back to the field doing a remarkable job. And Grumio's stopped on the circuit. I think he nothing quite else with the Imri wide off the circuit there. What on earth has happened here? A number of cars losing it. DJ again, penalty. I'm convinced it's something up with that spot. DJ's out of the race. And Grumio dives in the pit lane here, and he can serve the penalty to mind. If I'm not wrong, Ben.
Satan is, if anything, he benefited from this penalty. He's still going to come out ahead of Emery.
Emery's pitting. Okay, right. So,
yes.
This
is going to liven things up.
Liven it up indeed. This will even everyone out at this stage. Whether Emery can still perhaps emerge in front of Grumio, it's going to be close here, I should think. No change being made just yet. Waiting here. There goes Williams. Soft tyres on for Grumio. Okay, and he emerges just in front of Emery.
These soft tyres are going to absolutely be destroyed at the end of this race.
Dan stays out. Hard tyres on that car. Whether he's still out because obviously chasing the box a minute. I mean, obviously, we know the can double stack, but Grumio emerging. Actually, no, Dan emerging just in front as the Mercedes-AMG safety car comes out onto the racetrack.
What's Dan going to be able to keep that position for? He's on 12 off old tyres compared to Grumio on his fresh new soft. That's not going to last for long, surely.
An AT, a third penalty here, but obviously this would be great for him. He can now serve those penalties and get himself back in the race somewhat. Whether he may perhaps go another lap down, I mean, whether he gets that lap back, I don't think he does. So obviously he's still, actually, saying that, he is a minute 12 behind the leader. So whether AT is actually back on the lead lap now, I'm not too sure. So we'll have to see here in terms of what AT's got left to give in this race. I think potentially he may actually be back on the lead lap at this point. Unless, of course, I think F1 is truthfully, yeah. Although saying, actually, scrap that, sorry, I think Courtney and AT both a lap down because the gap to Curtis and Courtney are different at the minute. 10th Cannon in the pit lane. Well, things are shaping up.
Wing change.
Wing change for 10th indeed. Front wing going on. Obviously getting rid of that wing lacking an end plate. Hard tyres into that car. She'll get to the end without that, but worn hard tyres. So this is going for one lap extra on that set. Trying to get lap fresh tyres and everyone else. We'll have to wait and see. Things will get very entertaining here. We're going to take a quick moment to recenter ourselves. We'll be back with you in just a minute's time. Welcome back then to Brazil, and a safety car out for the first time today here on lap number 50. Dan now shows the way on those 14 lap hold hards. Grumio going aggressive here, Ben, on a set of soft tyres, as he mentioned before we went black just for a couple of moments there. And 10th Cannon, and concerning there on that set of hard tyres, 18 lap hold hards. Whether she pits again this time round, I'll have to wait and see on that front, but there's been a little thing here. I'm being told AT being let through to unlap himself, so it looks as though AT can get himself back in the action. Whether Courtney Goblin can do the same thing, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not quite sure what the game plan is yet.
Wow. That was very close between the Kicksauber and then AT.
Was there close near contact there?
Pretty much. I think 18 wanted to go for the move up the inside of turn 5. However, they kicked out and didn't see the McLaren coming and ended up nearly making contact.
I'd hope these guys refrain from making moves under the safety car given the current situation. Obviously, the race is neutralised for the time being. But I mean, at this point, we've got 21 laps to go when they cross the line. It's still anyone's race in this sense, especially now that everyone's bunched up. Safety car coming in this lap. So we'll see how Dan handles this restart. See how the birthday man gets going again as these guys are backing each other up here for this restart. We'll see how Grumio gets to racing again on those soft tyres. Can Imrie still challenge him? The sun is out and shining bright here into Lagos now. Stark contrast to the start of the race. 50 laps ago as Dan keeps everyone at bay for this restart. Grumio right behind him here. I'm about to get back to racing here, going towards turn 1. Dan waiting all the way here and then going for it. And he is left Grumio away, going towards somewhere. Everyone is bunched up behind him, going towards that first corner. A bit close for comfort there, going towards the start lines. Gets us back to racing here. We're underway again on at lap 51. PJ making a pass. Alvar down 2 spots here out of turn 2. JB and Ericsson going at it towards 4. These guys all quite close together here. We've seen contact made in these restarts before as Grumio goes around the outside of Dan, go off the circuit though, and takes the race lead away. And Dan down to 3rd, down to 4th here. That gamble on the hards has not worked out for him here. And it might cost Haas dearly as Grumio now leads Imrie, Che in 3rd place, and these 3 may well start to go at it once again for the top spot.
Oh, I think we've got a spin. I don't know who it is.
We've got contact here. Ericsson has been there. AT got another 10-second penalty for ignoring a blue flag. There's damage on that Sauber, as I say. In terms of anyone else, I'm not entirely sure. There's just a bit of a traffic jam on that front. Good eye, though, Ben. I would have missed that myself. PJ's got damage too, so likely those two came together. They've got opposite sides of wing damage, so I'm imagining it's those two came together. Yellow flag again as Ericsson slows it down, and it could be goodbye to points for Ericsson in this Grand Prix. DRS is enabled once again here on lap 52 of the race. Back to focus up front. Courtney Goblin, 10 seconds too, ignoring blue flags. AT goes flying into the pit lane, likely race over, I should think, from here. There we go. Retirement there. Tough day for AT. Second tough day, and Ericsson out as well. Both of them calling it quits here. So we are down to just 13 more cars in this Grand Prix. We've lost 6. We've lost Pope, Pog, Landlord, DJ, AT, and Ericsson. And we've still got these top 3 going at it. Oh, Grumio slides through turn 6. And that was a big moment. And Dan may make contact there. Oh, no, sorry, no, I'm blind. Dan has got no damage. I thought I saw an end plate being lost on his car. I am blind. Never mind that. But Imrie now leads the way. Che in 2nd. And Grumio on those soft tyres down in 3rd.
Did you catch what I'm saying? I didn't quite catch that. I was looking at the battle between Wedsey and TJ.
Websy keeps it in front for the minute, but yeah, I mean, we just about caught it. Grumio went for a slide there as he's keeping Imrie at bay, and that's a rare mistake then from the champion. Whether it was a mistake, I'm not entirely sure on that front. We'll keep an eye out over the course of the next few laps, but he is now falling away here from Che and Imrie. Imagine his tyres probably quite hot at this stage, and those soft tyres can get quite hot as is, as HB Cook now making the pass on Dan for 4th place, because he's one of those cars still on hard tyres in this race, but could we see another podium here? Perhaps if something goes wrong with the leaders, it could be on for him.
This kicks out, but definitely got pace. He's got pace in him. We've seen it in Singapore. We've seen it. Not so much last time in Mexico. Mexico was a bit of an off. But he's definitely got pace, and that kicks out, but he's looking really good for points.
Looking for his 3rd point score for his 4th point score in 4 races. And penalty there for Grumio, 3 seconds. And that'll be tougher to get back in the last 18 laps of this race. But we've seen him do this in the past. Will he go balls to the wall now and just try and throw the kitchen sink at it and look to try and build a lead? He's got to get around both these two very strong drivers first. But Imrie might well be licking his lips here. The prospect of victory, potentially for the first time in 3 seasons, as he guns for the lead here with Che on his tail as they head up through turn 14 again.
Is Che close enough to make a move?
Might go for it later on. There could be a late move like we saw with JB earlier.
He's going to go for it. Is he going to go for it?
No, thinks better of it. Lock up from Imrie, but Che fastest lap there. 1 minute 9.967. So clearly gains being made for that Haas driver who sort of played second fiddle to these 2 cars all evening here, and may well find himself in with a chance to win this race. But of course, that all counts on Grumio not being able to pull a 3-second advantage after taking the lead. No damage done to that car, so fortunate to avoid that spin. But wow, Grumio's race looks to have gone a bit more astray than he might have liked here in the last 2 laps.
How 2 laps could change a 7-1 lap race is mental. Having a bit of a snap coming out of third Julie by the looks of things, and then obviously, of course, it's 3-second penalty. Wow. All of a sudden, Julio is really up against it.
Up against it, indeed. He's the words that practically was out of my mouth then, truthfully. HB Cook, 3.8 behind. Sorry if you can hear popping behind me. They've started fireworks outside, which is quite annoying. But we'll continue on as we are here in the final 20 laps of this race, and hopefully they won't deter us too much. Grumio fastest lap, so clearly some pace left in that. Williams still some life left in that thing. Look at these 3. Gap in the pack here. 4 seconds back to 4th place. Dan and then Websy still on the tail of HB Cook at turn 1. Dan can't quite go for it just yet, but obviously he's lost out on a spot here. And while he can get to the end of those tyres, it'd be a lot harder for him to try and keep that spot if things carry on as they are here. But currently still gains by Haas in the Constructors' Championship. But JB there in P8 now, however, has the penalty to think about. 3 seconds for him. So it's going to be tough. And we'll see where Williams emerge for points-wise coming into the Grand Prix. But Red Bull looking quite good here. No Mercs in the points. And currently, that one of their drivers up in the race lead. So a 25-point swing for Red Bull as it stands going into the last part of this race.
7-car train now. This could get tasty.
I'm hoping so, as HB Cook still continues to keep those guys at bay. I think Dan being on those worn hard tyres, and Websy same thing across the cars up front being on the hards compared to the guys on mediums behind is possibly putting a bit more frustration on for those guys. Obviously TJ, JB, Curtis, PJ at this point. Alva about 4 seconds back. It's another 1.7 to 10th, and Connie obviously a lap down but still on 10th tail as they go back towards turn 1 again. We're on lap 56 now, and we're going to 15 laps to go next time around. We'll see here how this one draws to a close. Ericsson leaves the session here. Disappointing. Obviously, a chance of points for him was always there. But that's why wait a little bit longer to add to that 9-point tally for him this season. Same thing for DJ, who had 10 points this campaign. Alvar with 13. Imri penalty now. And that will leave things wide open for here for one Che in that Haas car. He has one win already this season at Zandvoort, which he took advantage of the cars around and making mistakes, and went on to win that race. And he could look at win number 2 here, because Grumio isn't really making any progress at the minute. He's setting fastest laps, but not really making progress. However, if Che gets 1-2, then all of a sudden it's game on once again.
Yeah, absolutely is. I'm just looking now at Che warnings. I think he may only have the one. He's got an invalidation on lap 29. I'm just going to quick check to see what that invalidation was for. It does look like over track limits, so Che on 2 warnings as he overtakes him. Got that the perfect time. So
1 warning then for Che at this stage, and now in the race lead, so things working out quite nicely for him. It'll be up to Imri and Grumio now to sort of try and work as a pairing, in a sense, to try and force Che into some kind of error to try and get those other 2 warnings out of him, but likely they won't know what his situation is in terms of track limits. They'll have to push him here to the limit in order to try and maintain that spot, as Dan now finally gets around HB Cook in that race for 4th place, but of course he's on those worn tyres. He's on one of the most worn sets of tyres in the field here, so HB Cook will want to try and get back around him as soon as he can, as Landlord's disconnected here. Of course, one of the drivers out of the race a while ago brought out the initial safety car that brought this whole mess about. So Che, I think, counting his stars at this stage, that Landlord did in fact manage to do that. I won't say lucky stars, because Che has had it pace-wise all day long, but it's not been able to match the pace of Imri and Grumio until this restart, truthfully. I mean, obviously, until that stage in the second stint where he'd actually get up there to challenging those guys, but these 3 have been far away the class of the field, and with 14 laps to go, if Che gets penalty, then it's game on, and anyone's race in terms of who wins this thing.
100% as we are looking at him now into turn 1. I had a little think about it. Maybe can say what we've seen at the while ago. It's got a good exit and Che has a bit of a wobble.
Oh, anyway, here we go.
Could get pissed off. And down to turn 4. No, I think Imri's ERS was depleted. Didn't mind the fact that I was down to 5%, whereas Che had a bit like that.
He's going to need to manage that better if he wants a chance to win this thing. He's against 2 of the best managers in the business in that sense. We've seen in the past Che and Grumio gapping the entire pack, mainly on F124, and those 2 going at it and keeping it steady for the majority of laps in the Grand Prix, only for things to come alive in the final 2 or 3 laps, ERS-wise, and obviously with DRS in play as well. So we'll see in terms of what these guys have. But I imagine there has to be a point where Grumio, if he wants to win this race, starts to get himself into play and starts using the battery a bit more to try and get around these 2 cars. He needs to try and find some time to build that 3-second gap too. And his soft tyres have already done 10 laps, so I'm not sure how long his tyres can go before they hit the cliff here. I'll have to bank on these 2 making errors of their own as Imri tries the inside into turn 1, looking for that race lead going through turns 1 and 2. Che nips back in front, but Imri will have DRS, and as you said last lap, Ben, obviously run the tail of that Haas, but no battery, again depleted as Grumio now closing in towards turn 4. Imri sees it coming, goes for his move to the inside, going into that right-hander, into left-hander, sorry, but Che still in front by half a car length. It's going to be very tight between these 2. Close quarters at this stage of the racing into Argos. Che keeps the car in front. Once again, that bit more battery working for him, saving it through this more technical part of the lap. Same thing for all 3 cars here. Everyone's on the same sort of strategy. Save for Websy from those guys on back. Websy and TJ using a bit more battery, but still harvesting for the minute. And we'll see here, in terms of attack, what goes down the main straight.
Yeah, I think if I didn't jump out once again, Grumio's tyres won't be in the best condition. I'm sure with him being a 10-time world champion, though, sure he can make it to the end of the race.
I can see him make it to the end, but in terms of having the trick up his sleeves, try and get around these guys, build an advantage, I don't quite see that happening as Imri goes for it there, going very close to the rear wing of Che and risk gameplay damage, but Imri now back in front, but Che will likely to come back at him. Look how much battery Che has got compared to Imri. He sort of let the Red Bull breeze past and will now likely take it back without too much issue towards turn 4. Which I thought he would do, but he doesn't use that batteries. Now it's up to Imri to try and manage some. I'd say probably better shifting it into none as opposed to keeping it medium for the time being. He wants to try and save some more going from turn 6 onwards. He switches it down now. Grumio, as you can see here, he's still in range of these guys, Ben, but at the minute, as we're saying with these soft tyres, he's not really been close to go for a proper challenge except for last lap when he was running down towards turn 4. There's been no real bite from that Williams in the last few laps or so in comparison to Imri and Che going at it for the lead.
Yeah, I wonder if Grumio's got a bit of a temperature issue with those tyres. I know how much of an issue it is around it to keep control of those soft in a perfect operating window when you're sat around in traffic. It's not the easiest. But let's not count it out just yet to there. I think Che's just about to have another go at Imri.
There it goes, yep, breezing past, cool as you like. Nearing the final 10 laps now, this Grand Prix, and it's still, I mean, obviously, Che has no penalty to think about, because we are looking at this as if Che has no penalty, but I can't imagine him getting any more warnings since we last checked, so I have to keep an eye on that. But at the minute, this is Che's race, whether Imri and Grumio pass him or not.
Yeah, this starts to look a bit further back now. HP Cook had a magnificent run on the half driver at Dam. He wasn't able to pass him, but he did have a good run, so I wonder if those hard tyres are starting to feel it. Imri's gone off.
Imri, down to 3rd place here. And I missed it. He may have done what Grumio did potentially. I have to keep better look out at that. But yellow flag behind, and that is JB around.
I wonder if JB and I think it may have been PJ that may have made contact.
I mean, obviously, there is damage on PJ's car, but we knew he had damage earlier on, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. But 2 drivers seeing things fall apart from there at turn number 6, which continues to be the accursed resting place for hopes these drivers here, as well as obviously the pit lane entry in this Grand Prix. But now at 10 laps to go, things look a bit more clear cut. Che 1.2 in front of Grumio with a 3-second penalty to boot. Imri, same thing, 2 seconds behind Grumio. No DRS to play around, not a lot of battery here for Grumio or Imri. So Che, short of a penalty, this race looks more or less set in stone, and he needs to drive things as calm as he can in these final 10 laps and should come home with his 2nd win of the season.
Nerve-wracking though, being on your final warning, get a 3-second penalty, all of a sudden it's going back on again. We know how quick Grumio is. 10 laps feels like an absolute age without going to warning. I've been there, I've done it. I've had multiple penalties in the past, it's not fun.
I can imagine. I can't think about much as a from a driver's perspective, as Che sliding a little bit there. Those medium tyres may start hitting the cliff towards the end of this last few laps of this Grand Prix. We'll keep an eye out here. Imrie needs to get his skates on, get himself back inside DRS range of Grumio. I think that's his only chance, truthfully, to win this race. But even so, Grumio's falling back from Che now. Those soft tyres are becoming a concern now for the reigning and now current drivers' champion in the series. On to lap 63, 9 to go, and it is still Che's race, and Imrie now 1.3 behind Grumio. It's further back here. We're seeing moves being made. Websy closing on HB Cook, himself closing on Dan. Keep an eye on this fight, what could be a race for 4th place going towards turn 4 in a few moments' time.
The only thing that I can see maybe limiting Imrie is the ERS issue that I seem to have. Seems to go up quite a bit, however, because I was cycling out of turn 4. What he seems to use quite a bit. He's down to 3% at the moment, which is probably the only thing that's going to cost him.
Further down the order here, in the meantime, we've still got, at the minute, cars with penalties. Those drivers being PJ and JB in terms of drivers with pens in the points. As it stands right now, 1 point is going Alvar's way at the minute, but 10th, if you can gain 4 seconds, essentially slides through entry to turn 5. Could try and stop that, but needs to gain about 5 seconds here. Alvar on course to score 1 point here, with TJ still in the 7th spot. He's had quite a race by comparison. His teammate PJ, or at least his teammate for tonight, PJ, in P9 right now, has 3 seconds too, but JB is currently 6.9 behind him. So Alvar actually may well gain that spot. Anyways, Imrie makes the pass on Grumio towards turn 1, but now Che is 3 seconds clear, so has this race on lock now. I mean, if he gets a penalty of his own. So things looking good for Che now. But Imrie's now got it all ahead of him if he wants to try and keep Grumio at bay and beat Che for this race win.
I think it's safe to say this has really falling apart now. They're literally noting within the rubber of the track, isn't it? That gap continues to extend down front. I wonder if we had to spend a bit of time behind the Williams, and that's what's
Alvar further back makes the pass on the other Williams to JB now. So move Alvar into the top 10 here with just 7-8 laps to go in this Grand Prix. JB obviously could get him back with that 3 seconds to think about. He needs to bank on Alvar getting one of his own. PJ obviously is safe from it as he stands right now, 6.5 in front of Alvar. Will Alvar start to close that gap down? I'll have to wait and see as he hunts for another point to try and close on Ferrari. But saying that, Curtis, 8th place, 4 points of his own. So even when RB gets the points, Ferrari still open up that advantage a little bit.
So looks like we've got a bit of a DRS train. There's not much movement between 4th, 5th and 6th. Looks like maybe Paper is trying to conserve a bit of his tyres. Maybe go for it right at the end.
Of course, Dan's tyres running out of this day. He's on 29 lap old hards, and he's obviously the plan. I think was him to go the second half of the race on these tyres, but I don't think he banked on that safety car coming into play. I don't think anyone banked on that safety car coming into play. And HB Cook obviously on 7 lap fresher hard tyres. Dan is still in position to try and take advantage of the potentially stricken Haas in front of him. And I should hope that we don't see another penalty, or rather another puncture, like we saw with AT so early on in this race when the track changed from wet to dry.
Yeah, just fine watching the Grumio only fight at the moment. Grumio literally, by his teeth, got DRS. Those tyres are really falling apart for the Williams driver. But can he stay within that 1 second?
It's close. I'll give you that. It's very, very close right now. Imrie is keeping it in front of Grumio now with all his might. But those medium tyres will be doing fantastic themselves, despite how bad those softs are. But this is Grumio we're talking about. He can make softs do incredible things. He goes for a move there at turn 4. Imrie's got to give him the room. It's close to contact there. But both cars keeping it within the grey. Che at this point must be watching those 2 dots in his mirrors, going at it corner after corner, DRS straight after DRS straight, and just loving the sides of it, saying, by all means, lads, carry on. I'm taking this race win. He's 5 laps away from glory here for the second time this season as JB gets back around Alvar, further back towards turn 4. But Alvar switching back here, contact between the pair of them as they go through turn 5. JB gets in front. That was close.
That could have been race end for both of them. Alvar went for a switch back. By the looks of things, they were a bit more space on the inside. I'm sure there's going to be some debate now, but end of the day, these two are putting absolute shit. Everybody is putting it shit, including Courtney Goblin, who is unfortunately a minute behind his car. However, his commitment to try and make it to the end of the race is beyond exception.
Two retirements more in the last 5 laps of this race, he could still score a point, and that's something we went for all season long here. So, in a slightly sadistic way, I would like to see Courtney get a point through that matter, as we make our way towards the last 5 laps of this Grand Prix here. Che still leads Imri by 4, and Grumio about a second back from Imri, but still not Imri still not losing him just yet. Penalty situation, there it is. Still those 4 cars with pens. Alvar obviously going at it with JB still. PJ is safe. Imri and Grumio are fighting for the position regardless, unless one of them gets another penalty. Courtney Goblin is obviously a lap down from where he is with 26 seconds of penalties rather, to his name. And Che has kept it all to himself here, and the 3rd place car for a lot of the part of the day, at least early on, is 4 laps away from victory. Yellow flag as 10th goes around at turn number 6.
Exact same thing as what the other Red Bull did.
And turn 6 has not been kind to anyone, I should say. Of course, it's caught Grumio out, it's caught Imri out, it's now caught 10th out, it caught JB out. Number of drivers. I'd say everyone's had some sort of altercation earlier on. Of course, Che was one of those cars with a 10-second pit lane penalty, and things have just sort of stacked up quite nicely for him in that sense. And obviously, this final restart has worked like a charm thanks to Imri's spin. He obviously held Grumio up and his soft tyres in a position now they can no longer respond. Imri is in 2nd place. Obviously, it's still been an 18-point swing for Red Bull to Mercedes, so Red Bull will find themselves back in 4th place in the Constructors' Championship. So a good day for them on that front. I think Imri would be happy with the podium, but gutted that things worked out for them the way they did with that spin at turn 6 a few laps ago. And that moment, I think, has allowed Che to take victory here, provided nothing goes wrong for him in his final 3 laps.
And looks like Grumio is finally starting to drop away from him. We've seen it for a bit of time coming now. He lost 7/10 on that lap, didn't he?
So out of the DRS range now for Grumio. 21 laps, you see on those soft tyres. 21 laps for the majority of cars here. Dan's still on his hard tyres. 33 laps, fantastic. And still holding on to 4th place here. Brilliant job for him. I think he should be very proud of his efforts, regardless of how this race comes to an end for him. But I shouldn't imagine anything going wrong from these last couple of laps. We've seen punctures, though, later on these races. We saw Websy puncture on the final lap at Monza, so let's not count anything out just yet. And obviously, Ben, I know you've got your experience of punctures later on this season, so I won't go too much into depth on that. But Websy hanging on there in P6, still scoring some points for Alpine. Things working out quite nicely for them, but obviously HB Cook gaining a couple of points there in the Sauber in the race for the Constructors' title for 6th place. So top of the bottom half of the standings. And Che coming through here. 2 laps to go at the line. And this race has been... It's been a very exciting one. As 100% races go, races in the past where we've seen Grumio cruise over into the distance. He's won the majority of these full-length Grand Prix, Ben. And seeing a different winner here, it's definitely adding a bright spark to these races. And Che has done remarkably over the last 70 laps. He is just under 2 laps from glory.
Yeah, there's been indestructible. I don't think Dan or Jay have sustained damage throughout this race. They've kept it really clean. Just on a bit of a side note, on lap 69, Webster was all over the back of HB Cup. Anyway, Salzgill could move to turn 1. However, they've been quite good at moving, but it looks like it may cost him what could have been 5th.
Let's keep an eye on whether HB makes a mistake or the Dan makes a mistake. Of course, those two both with more worn tyres than Websy. Difference between Cook and Websy, only a lap between them at the minute, so quite close in terms of those two in terms of tyre wear, but both of them doing a fantastic job here to make it last to the end of the Grand Prix. Dan, again, 34 laps, fantastic on his front, but whether he still makes a mistake from here, have to wait and see. I'm sure looking forward to the end of the Grand Prix, a number of drivers at this stage, as Che is coming through now to begin the bell lap. 70 laps of hard driving have culminated in this, a 4.5-second lead to Imri. Grumio 2.8 behind, nowhere to be seen in comparison to the race leader. One more lap to go here in the RDL Brazilian Grand Prix of season 19, and Che is commanding things. As we see further back, it could be a close here. Websy might still get HP Cook back. We'll keep an eye on this final lap as those two head towards turn 1.
The DRS is really helping HP Cook. Really helping him a lot. It's staying within DRS down, and end of the day, Webster can't really get close to him. He had that one chance on Mach 69, but other than that, I think Webster's chances have been dried up due to the DRS. But, it's a very good drive from Webster, very good drive from HP Cook, and an impeccable drive from Dan, who looks miles off it, and say he's only 7 seconds off Grumio. I think he'll be happy with that.
Happy indeed. Of course, Haas will make some big gains in the Constructors' Championship here over Williams, with JB currently scoring just the 1 point, Grumio scoring 15 in the minute, and Che about to bring home a full 25. It'll be 37 points overall for Haas in tonight's race as Che rounds turn 15 for the final time. Checkered flag is up, and Che will win for the second time this season. He takes victory into Lagos. Imrie comes home in a valiant second place. Could it have been the win? Never quite know for sure. Grumio home in third place. A good race as the champion begins. Another title defense, or another season at least, as champion with a podium finish. Dan holds on for fourth. HP Cook in fifth. Websy in sixth. Those guys separated by less than a second. TJ, another fantastic reserve performance in seventh. Curtis, eighth place. Gains for Ferrari in the constructors. PJ in ninth in the end. 2 points going Aston Martin's way. Alvar will get 1 point on the board for RB. That is 34 points from this season now. JB in 11th will get the last point as 10th Cannon. Now 22 seconds behind JB. Alvar having a crash there. Obviously did cross the line as we saw, so he'll take that last point home. 10th, I think frustrated in the end. P12 at the flag for her. But Che, though, scintillating from start to finish. Got the better of the two cars who were up front, the guys, to fight for the win today. Che has shown them all what speed is and comes home with win number 2 of season 19.
I just went across the line sometimes.
Don't know the line there.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what. That was a very interesting line, nonetheless.
So Che wins it then. Imrie second and Grumio home in third. Long and grueling race as always around Interlagos. This track produces one of the best challenges of the season in terms of sheer chaos at the best of times. Still 4 rounds to come in this campaign. Obviously, Las Vegas next week, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and of course the series long awaited return to Silverstone for the first time in quite a few races at this stage. But the celebrations begin then for Haas, for Williams, and for Red Bull. All 3 teams with a car on the podium today, and Che, of course, home as the winner. There are your final results. It's Che from Imrie and Grumio, Dan 4th, HP Cook 5th, Websy 6th, TJ 7th, Curtis, PJ, and JB round out your points paying place. So scrap that. Alvar in P10, JB P11th, 10 in 10th and 12th. Cotney, your final finisher in 13th, albeit 1 lap down come the checkered flag. Ericsson, AT, DJ, Landlord, Pog, and Pope all goes down as retirees following a very, very intense Brazilian Grand Prix. Ben, your first race as RDL commentator is complete. Please, mate, I implore you, give me your thoughts on that.
Good job, everybody. If we cut out, it would. We can't fit that right. There were giants, they were taking one, there were after every lap. It was one of the best races that I've definitely seen.
Definitely a fun one and one of the more enjoyable races I think for this season. Given the level of dominance that Grumio's had over the course of the campaign, I think it's definitely good that we've had someone stand up and challenge him over a full race distance. Of course, we'll see if we can get anyone in for post-race interviews. Very enjoyable stuff all around. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. And that will mean that Che will likely come a bit closer to Pope, or so gain a lot of points rather on Pope. Likely to take 4th place in the Drivers' Championship on that end. And we'll see if we can get anyone in for a word, whether we'll get Che in post-race after a very, very good drive. Was there anyone, Ben, was there anyone that stood out in particular to you, Ben? Anyone you want to put down as a perhaps a driver of the day of sorts?
I think he took a fantastic job, recovered very well. Had a fairly disappointing qualifying. However, end of the day, penalties matter. If he drove flawless through that, and yeah, fantastic job from everyone. But if I had to pick one driver, would be Pickle.
Honestly, I have to agree with you. Obviously, HP Cook did an incredible job. Obviously, qualifying wasn't quite there for him. I think we can both agree in that sense, but he definitely managed to turn it around without a shadow of a doubt. And P5, I think nothing to complain about at all on that end. So a solid 10 points going that team's way once again, and gains being made for Sauber in the Constructors' Championship over Alpine. It'll be a 2-point gain. It's not a big game, but it is a gain nonetheless. And we'll look to see how that battle goes down to the wire. As you'd like to say at the start, Ben, likely it'll go down to the wire at Silverstone in just a few weeks' time. It should be a very exciting race. Our last 100% race of the season coming on to later on in November. Yeah, I've got 10th Cannon in. 10th comes home in P12 in the end. 10th, obviously, long, grueling race, made the flag in the end. So, obviously, fair play on that. As always, these 100% races are tough. How did you find it out there?
So incredibly boring. It's unfortunate, really, because I like Brazil, and I was really looking forward to this one. And I like the 100% races, but oh my god, I am not fast enough. I can't really catch up to the DRS trains, and it was kind of a bummer, really, because I didn't really want to come into this interview and be all doom and gloom, but I don't really think I gained anything from this race, so well, we go again next week, I guess.
I mean, obviously, the endurance sense always there. So, I mean, I think, honestly, just make it to the flag, regardless of points, is an achievement in this race. Of course, saw the number of guys who lost out. Obviously, in terms of the, I mean, a lot of penalties being handed out today in the pit lane in particular. I don't believe you were on the receiving end of one of those, but could that be perhaps a concern in terms of perhaps a game glitch, or what would you speculate on that if you had to give me an answer?
No idea. I just hate the Brazil pit lane. I got into an accident when someone tried to pit because I had no idea that they were going to pit, and they kind of turned down into me because I tried to overtake on the inside. Kind of sucks, but I mean, we don't really have to think about it now for another 6 months until it comes around again next season. Oh well. I mean, it sucks, but what can you do?
Sort of following on from that, in terms of going into obviously looking a lot further into next season's race around here. Oh, you think to Austria, we've got specific rules in place in terms of pit entry, because of how awkward it is. Would you think that there needs to be a rule in place for Brazil, the same sort of thing there?
Maybe it would help, because I think the guy entered from quite high on the track, so I think NASCAR fans will know the extent of entering high in the pit lane and how that can cause an incident. It wasn't quite as explosive as Byron versus Dylan on the Las Vegas race last weekend, but it did spin me out. So maybe I think a rule could help, because I didn't know that he was going to pit. I thought he was just going slow because of the conditions. So yeah, it is what it is. I don't really blame the guy. He did apologize, but it's all right. Things happen. I made a mistake of my own in quali, and I think I might have messed up someone's lap. So it's whatever.
So obviously another race down then, and going into the last 4 rounds of the season. Of course, one more 100% race to go later on this campaign at Silverstone. Is that a race to look forward to, do you think?
I don't know if there's any races to look forward to. I kind of just turn up at the races and see how I do. I mean, I might not be very good. I might be really good. I don't really know until I do practice, like before the race. So we'll see. I'm hoping to be a bit more pleasantly surprised. I'm in a bit of a cold snap at the moment, results wise, and it's kind of disappointing me. But I'm hoping that I can kind of get out of it soon. Maybe I can snap out of it.
Have to wait and see, of course, over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, like I say, fair play for making the flag, for obviously keeping pushing until the checkered flag. So that, that's all good in my book personally. And obviously, I know you might be more frustrated with the result. But obviously, we'll move on to next week. And that race will be taking place on the 27th of October. That'll be the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Looking forward to that one. Hopefully, I won't desync like I did last season. That will be a concern if I do. Before we go, Ben, any final thoughts to add on tonight's race as a whole?
Oh, brilliant. Just non-stop action, everyone's enough. No dull moment. Fantastic job for everybody. Fantastic race.
Excellent stuff all round from everyone on the grid tonight. that'll do it then for coverage here at the Racers Driving League Season 19, Round 20 in Brazil. I've been your host, Zach RC. Thanks again to Ben for joining me in the comments box. Hopefully we'll see him back here in the next couple of races. So fantastic evening, everybody, and we shall see you all next time. Goodbye.